Chapter 200. The green and red brothers who were in the lobby were very flabbergasted. Just a moment ago, they were still listening to Wei Chang's lecture, and suddenly, they said that they had a stomachache and went to the toilet, and then, the little loli upstairs also followed them and went to the toilet. Big Brother Green said in a low voice, "I feel that there's something wrong with Uncle Wei and the little loli." "I think so too, that Tang Wei seems to be Uncle Wei's girlfriend?" Little Brother Red was very curious. "The bars in the big city sure are messy, they are too brazen." Big Brother Green rubbed his head. "Our way of thinking is still too old-fashioned, and we can't keep up with the pace of the big city." "That's right, I feel that I have already fallen in love with the pace of a big city." Little Brother Red said with a light smile. "So this is what a big city is like, it's so open in the toilet. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Subordinate pays respect to your honor." Wei Chang, Lai Gu, Yi Zizi, 3 of the 7 deadly sins were all present. "Stop kneeling, the ground is dirty," Yi Hua said lightly. "Thank you, your honor, for understanding us." The 3 stood up and shouted out. Pausing for a moment, Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. "You all should know about what happened today, right?" Lai Gu also found out about this news from Wei Chang, and he was incomparably shocked in his heart. "His honor's bloodline is already out, and I thought that it would take a few more months." Subordinate thinks that this is a happy occasion. For his honor to be able to reunite with little his honor, it is a very auspicious sign. Wei Chang said with a smile, and the other 2 nodded their heads as well. Yi Hua's brows wrinkled as he said gravely, "Ali is indeed my bloodline, but the person who gave birth to her." Speaking up to here, Yi Hua looked towards his 3 subordinates. "You 3 should know which woman it is, right?" "I don't know." Yi Zizi raised her hand and shouted. She looked as if she didn't want her to answer the question. However, Wei Chang and Lai Gu knew about this matter. Lai Gu said solemnly, "Your honor, since the matter has already happened, just bring that madam over. With your honor's lofty status, it is perfectly normal for you to have another woman." "Wei Chang, what do you think?" Yi Hua let out a mouthful of smoke and asked. Wei Chang pondered for a moment. This subordinate feels that this matter still needs to be discussed with Furin. Of course, there is also the matter of whether the other wife is willing or not. Right now, Wei Chang knew how to think from another person's point of view, and it was precisely because of this that he had yet to push Tang Wei down. Yi Zizi pursed her lips. "What's there to be unwilling about? Just grab him and bring him over." Yi Hua glared at Yi Zizi, and Yi Zizi immediately shut her mouth. In the past, his honor didn't have so many worries. It would be great if it was that easy. This was the bad side of human nature. They had to take care of one side and appease the other. How troublesome. "Lai Gu, how did you get those women together?" Yi Hua asked faintly. For this kind of question, I still have to consult Lai Gu. After all, Lai Gu has 3 women, and it seems like they are still able to stay together peacefully. Lai Gu pondered for a while, then said respectfully, "Your honor, subordinate doesn't know either. In any case, I just pushed, and then, as I pushed, they all ended up together." Yi Zizi had a look of disdain on her face. "Lecherous dragon. I am a human, this is a human's nature, all right?" Lai Gu was unwilling to accept it and argued with Yi Zizi. Wei Chang said, "Your honor, subordinate feels that those who are able to catch your honor's fancy are definitely not ordinary women. Of course, we can't use ordinary methods to get them." Yi Zizi clapped her hands. "I understand now, gluttonous monster means that if your honor buys new clothes for madam, madam will accept Ali, am I right?" Yi Hua, Wei Chang, Lai Gu, Wei Chang, what you mean is for me to not make a move for now? Yi Hua asked curiously. Wei Chang nodded his head. "That's right, let madam and little his honor get to know each other first, and let them develop a favorable impression of each other. Even if the matter is exposed, Madame Qingya wouldn't make things difficult for Ali, that makes sense." Yi Hua nodded his head. After remaining silent for a while, Yi Hua continued to ask, "What do you guys think, should I accept that woman?" Lai Gu raised his hand and answered. "Speak." Lai Gu immediately said, "Your honor, subordinate feels that we must accept her. If little his honor is really born from her, then she should have a status. After all, little his honor is his honor's bloodline. A mother's status depends on her daughter. Wei Chang and Yi Zizi were startled. There's nothing wrong with what Lai Gu said. Lai Gu, I am very happy that you decided to use your brain and not your lower body. Lai Gu smiled complacently. Who said that I only know how to use my lower body? Just look at how his honor praised me. Your honor, then, when are we going to invite the other madam over? Wei Chang asked the crucial question. Yi Hua stepped on the cigarette and said gravely, wait for my order. Yes. You guys can disperse now. All right, Wei Chang, take good care of those two non-mainstream people. Yi Hua instructed, then disappeared and appeared in the bedroom. Lai Gu went into a daze, then asked curiously, what non-mainstream people? The two humans who escorted his honor's bloodline back. Wei Chang laughed. F***K, those two fellows got lucky, his honor even specially instructed them to do so. Formidable, formidable. Lai Gu gave a thumbs up, then disappeared from the toilet. Yi Zizi walked out of the toilet while yawning, and the Green and Red brothers who were outside immediately turned their heads around. Wei Chang walked to the front of the two and said, do you guys want to continue protecting Ollie? The Green and Red brothers looked at each other, then said in unison, yes. Wei Chang was very satisfied with this answer. Yi Hua, who returned to his bedroom, heard the sounds of playing coming out from the bathroom, and the corner of his mouth slightly curved up. However, very quickly, the corner of his mouth fell back down. The woman from 3 years ago, and also Qinya, how did they suddenly hit the jackpot? This deity really never misses a shot. However, this was also good. The more bloodlines there were, the better. The only problem was how to allow them to coexist. Why is it that those humans can have groups of wives and concubines, but I can't? Let's wait and see first. If it doesn't work, then I will use forceful means. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not afraid of two women. Thinking back to the woman from 3 years ago, Yi Hua felt that the woman was still not bad. She was barely able to be his woman. Of course, he still needed to train her up a bit. After all, that woman was even more arrogant than Qinya. From how long she lasted, it could be seen that she was in a state where she was not willing to admit defeat. After a while, Qinya, who was wearing pajamas, came out with Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli was all smiles, and she seemed to be very happy. Uncle, hug me. Yi Hua smiled lightly and hugged onto Ali. Is this the feeling of a child? The feeling of wanting to take good care of her and protect her was so subtle. Right now, Yi Hua was finally able to understand the thoughts of those humans from 3 years ago. After killing the small, the big would come, and after killing the big, the old would come. If it was me, I would also do the same. Qinya let out a sigh of relief. Looking at Yi Hua and Li, they really look like father and daughter. I can't help but say, a woman's intuition is very scary. Uncle, Ali doesn't want to sleep anymore. Ali wants to play chicken with Aunt Yi and the others. Dong Huangli nestled in Yi Hua's embrace and said in a low voice, because she was a bit afraid that her uncle would scold her. After all, her mother always scolds her. Yi Hua said lightly, all right. Chapter 201. This caused Yi Hua to laugh out loud. Qinya, who was at the side, pouted her small mouth. When I want to play a few rounds with you, you are always unwilling. But when Ali wants to play with you, you are acting like this. This is not fair. I want it too. Qinya was unwilling to accept it. All right, Ali will bring Aunt Qing to the chicken dinner. Dong Huangli clapped her hands and said with a smile. Yi Hua said faintly, your Aunt Qinya is very noob. It's all right, Ali is already used to it. Qinya, you guys are such bullies. Carrying Ali, Yi Hua walked into Qin Yutong's room, and sure enough, everyone was sitting together in the 4th row. And when Yi Zizi and Dong Huangli meet each other, a battle would definitely be unavoidable. Auntie, you killed one less person than Ali. Hee. Don't call me aunt. I'm only 8 years old. Acting young, but you are Auntie Qing's little sister. Vali calls you big sister, then Ali also has to call Auntie Qing big sister. Ali faints, so confusing. Qinya and Qin Yutong couldn't help but laugh. Yihua sat at the side and silently looked at the four of them playing the game. In actuality, he was feeling very vexed in his heart. The appearance of Asli was too unexpected, to the point that he didn't know what to do. From the looks of it, Qingya's position in my heart is already very high. If not, I wouldn't be feeling this kind of emotion right now. If it was when I first met Qingya, I definitely wouldn't have so many worries. No matter how strong he was, he would still have to give up when he encountered family problems. It was really hard to be a human. Being a human was indeed difficult, but being a skeleton was much more enjoyable. For example, the current death mage had been having a great time in family for the past few days. He would play games with Sun Fang every day, and when he ran out of money, he would ask Do Fusher to calculate for him. In the end, he dug up the entire Ying family. Who would have thought that the Ying family's feng shui was such a treasured place, with good stuff everywhere? The people of the Ying family complained incessantly. Although the two of them didn't interfere with the internal affairs of the Ying family and only played games every day, if this continued, the Ying family would soon fall apart. It was infuriating, but they didn't dare to do anything to them. Especially that youngster. Every day, he would walk around Ying family with a compass, and as long as he was able to calculate something, he would ask Heavy Dust to directly dig it out. I really want to steal that compass. Fuck, those treasures were placed there by my Ying family's own people. Their goal was to create a man-made feng shui treasure land. The heavens want my Ying family to perish. Right now, within Ying family's side room, Death Mage and Sun Fang were lying on the bed with a solemn expression on their faces. Sun Fang could be heard mumbling, go and die, burp. After killing Sun Fang over 100 times, the Death Mage's warrior was finally defeated by Sun Fang's human wave attack. Looking at the fallen Death Mage on the screen, Sun Fang was stupefied. Gradually, her eyes turned red, and she started to choke with sobs. I finally killed it. He had finally gotten his revenge. Death Mage let out a sigh. In actuality, he had purposely fallen into Sun Fang's trap today. Seeing that Sun Fang was truly pitiful, he decided to give way to her. Sun Fang could be seen suddenly flipping her body over and riding on Death Mage's body, then smashed onto Death Mage's chest bone with her fists. Do you see this? I am going to kill you. Woo-hoo, all of the grievances he had suffered for the past month had exploded out. It was all because of it that he was mocked by everyone and even chased out of the Cloud sect. In the end, I found the culprit, but I was completely unable to kill him. Despair. At that time, I was really in despair, and I even had the heart to die. Although I am unable to kill you in reality, I will kill you in the game. The idea is good, but I was also killed by Death Mage over 100 times in the game. This time, I finally won, and I am finally able to ride on Death Mage's body. Death Mage stretched out his bony finger and wiped off the tears on Sun Fang's face, then quickly typed, "Wife, you look good when you cry, you have to cry more often in the future." Sun Fang's face turned red as she gave Death Mage a kick. "Cry your sister." Death Mage was kicked off the bed. What a violent woman. I am starting to like this woman more and more. At Ying family's main hall, the family members were currently having a meeting. Everyone's face could be seen to be filled with unwillingness and anger. Ying Shang glared at Ying family's main hall with a pair of bell-like eyes. His chest was heaving up and down as he shouted out angrily, "Big brother! This voidless realm is going too far." Ying Jingshan, who was sitting on the main seat, had an extremely bad expression on his face, and his eyes were completely bloodshot. The latest news that he received today was that the Empress was actually looking for a little girl, and that little girl was her daughter. Illegitimate daughter. I didn't expect that the Empress was actually such a person. If it wasn't for a single sentence from her, how could there be such a huge change in Ying family within 2 days? My son wouldn't have died, and wouldn't have brought an even bigger disaster to Ying family. What the Empress did was the same as toying with Ying family's dignity. Ying Kongsher's injuries were more or less healed. Right now, he was also sitting at the side and said hurriedly, "I won't blame the Empress for having an illegitimate daughter. As long as I marry her, everything will be fine." Hearing Ying Kongsher still saying such words, everyone couldn't help but want to slap him to death. It feels like you aren't a member of Ying family. and instead, you are the Empress's lackey. Ing Jingshan's bloodshot eyes bulged. Voidless realm is simply provoking us. Although our Ing family is low profile, we will definitely not allow others to bully us like this. If the Empress doesn't give our Ing family an explanation, then let's have a fight. Big brother, I agree. Ing Shang suddenly stood up and shouted out. Ing Kongshi hurriedly persuaded, the Empress didn't mean to do such a thing. If you want to blame someone, blame those two women and that group of people. Vile creature. Ing Jingshan could be seen instantly appearing in front of his son, then sent him flying with a slap. If not for the sake of your mother, I would have to kill you for what you said just now. Ing Kongshi held onto his cheek and looked at his father in disbelief. Right now, we can only rely on the Empress. Both sides should work together to fight against the Empress. How can our Ing family bow down to others? Fight against who? Sun Fong could be seen walking over with lotus steps, and behind her was Do Fushi. However, Death Mage didn't follow along, not knowing what he went to do. Today, Sun Fong was exceptionally beautiful, and it was as if she had returned back to that cloud sex sect master. Although her body was only wearing a simple muslin robe, she gave off a strong sense of confidence, and the smile on the corner of her mouth made people unable to take their eyes off her. As expected of the publicly acknowledged pampered girl, Sun Fong. This was also the reason why Sun Fong untied the knot in her heart and completed her revenge. Do Fushi felt as if he was shooting up a rocket these few days. During the first 3 days, his head was buzzing non-stop. I didn't even manage to enter my family, but now I consecutively jumped 3 levels, jumping over my family, and even jumping over the heads of the 3 big powers. The luckiest thing that happened in my entire life was that night when I went out to catch a ghost, and furthermore, I caught the wrong ghost. Although it was a bit embarrassing, but without the embarrassment on that day, I wouldn't have the face I have today. Ing family. Even one of the 3 big powers has to treat me respectfully. This is simply great. I must properly repay the evil ghost couple and help them earn more money to play games. Chapter 202. Ing Kongshi, who was on the ground, lowered his head, not daring to look straight at Sun Fong. Meanwhile, all of the people from Ing family ran out and cupped their hands respectfully. Lady Sun. Sun Fong nodded her head silently, then said with a light smile, "Don't be nervous, I am just passing by. You all can continue with your meeting." All of the relatives were shocked, and Ing Jingshan hurriedly said, "Lady Sun, don't misunderstand, we are very loyal to his honor." "That would be for the best," Sun Fong said. After pausing for a moment, Ing Jingshan continued, "Lady Sun, we were discussing about Voidless Realm just now." Sun Fong was puzzled for a moment. Voidless Realm? Voidless Realm? Although I was the sect master in the past, I was still very unfamiliar with the 3 big shots. I had only heard of them before. Ing Shang added, "Lady Sun, Voidless Realm is one of the 3 big shots, and they are the power that controls the entire north." "But did they provoke you?" Sun Fong asked. Ing Jingshan said gravely, "Lady Sun, Voidless Realm's Empress originally wanted to marry my son into her family, but it was only recently that we found out that the Empress has an illegitimate daughter." "What's wrong with someone else having a daughter?" Sun Fong asked curiously. "What a coincidence, the one that Voidless Realm's Empress snatched the Empress's goods." Everyone lowered their heads slightly, and Ing Jingshan continued, "The Empress has always been known as holy and noble, and to be able to obtain the Empress's favor, we Ing family feel honored. However, the Empress actually has an illegitimate daughter. Not only did the Empress deceive the world, she even trampled on our Ing family's dignity. If that was really the case, we Ing family would have just endured it. However, the situation is different now. The Empress has trampled on his honor's face." Ing Jingshan wasn't a fool. He knew that going against Voidless Realm would definitely cause them to suffer losses. However, if his honor were to make a move, it would only take a few minutes for his honor to make a move. With a light smile on her face, Sun Fong nodded her head. "His honor won't bother about you 3 big shots, and he won't make a move either." "Lady Sun, you are mistaken. Everyone in Ing family listens to his honor's orders. Even if we want to make a move against Voidless Realm, we would still have to get his honor's permission. After all, we don't dare to mess with his honor's plans. Sun Fang nodded her head silently. What you said makes sense. I will report this matter to the higher-ups. Dou Fusher was about to faint. Sister-in-law was so imposing, so imposing. She had completely suppressed this group of high and mighty Ying family members, and they didn't even dare to raise their heads. If Dou Fusher were to know that Sun Fang possessed a command plate that could instantly destroy Ying family, he would understand why this group of people lowered their heads. Everyone's lives were in the hands of others. Not to mention lowering their heads, they had no choice but to kneel and lick their boots. Sun Fang waved her hand, indicating that you all can continue with your work. I won't be accompanying you all in this meeting. I might as well go back and recharge my money to play games. Then I can kill the demonic beasts a few more times. Lord Sun, this subordinate still has one more thing to report. Ying Jingshan took a step forward and hastily shouted. Sun Fang stopped in her tracks, but she didn't turn around. Speak. This matter was caused by the fight over the ancient godly item last time. The North is openly snatching the ancient godly item. Before Sun Fang finished speaking, Sun Fang had already walked towards the outside and said calmly, "It is fine for you all to decide on this kind of small matter yourselves. His honor doesn't have the time to care about it." The corner of Ying family's relative's mouth twitched slightly. I have seen formidable people before, but I have never seen such formidable people before. If this is considered a small matter, then what is considered a big matter? Of course, it was a family conflict. After Sun Fang returned to the room, she told Death Mage about this matter. After hearing what Sun Fang said, Death Mage went silent for a moment. I heard from my master that his honor wants to cause a dispute between the North and the South as soon as possible. Regardless of whether it is the small matter or the big matter, his honor still wants to first seek his honor's opinion. Next, Death Mage sent the information to his honor via WeChat. Wei Chang immediately replied, "Don't send WeChat messages in the future, it is a waste of my data." Death Mage was greatly shocked and promised that he would report to his honor personally in the future. Yi Hua, who was currently watching the 2 adults and 2 children playing games in the room, heard that Wei Chang had something to report to him. Wei Chang's figure appeared very quickly. Kneeling down on one knee, Wei Chang shouted respectfully, "Subordinate pays respect to his honor." Yi Hua replied faintly as he took out a cigarette and lit it up. Sun Fang just sent news over. Wei Chang bowed slightly and said. Yi Hua puffed out a mouthful of smoke, then leaned against the window and signaled Wei Chang to continue speaking. Recalling the contents of Death Mage's report, Wei Chang said, "The godly item that his honor subdued that day is one of the 3 big shots, Ying family. These 3 big shots control the entire North and South, and Ying family belongs to the South." Yi Hua replied faintly, seemingly not in the mood to cause any trouble. Wei Chang knew that his honor was vexed, but he still had to continue reporting. This Ying family was originally going to have a marriage alliance with one of the big shots in the North. However, it seems that they were cheated, and Ying family's face was completely lost. Thus, Ying family wanted to regain their face. Yi Hua said faintly, "Then, we will try to curry favor with Ying family. However, we will not get involved in this matter. It is meaningless for us to fight with one side. Subordinate has already informed his honor, we will not get involved in their dispute." That's good then. I wonder if one of the 3 big shots would be replaced. If there is such a rule, then it would be fun. Yi Hua sneered. "When I am vexed, only blood can calm me down." Wei Chang said respectfully, "Subordinate will go and ask his honor. Also, there is one more matter. Regarding the ancient godly item battle that happened last time, the South intends to take revenge." That's good then. This was originally my plan. Keep an eye on Xiao Yi's side. Don't let him die, he is still useful. Yes. Subordinate has already left a trace of my aura on his Shenyuan sword, so that his honor can have fun with it. Wei Chang said with a slight smile. Seems like what I did back then was correct. Since his honor is in a bad mood, he can only kill someone. I wonder who will be the unlucky one. Yi Hua had the same intention, not bad. Being able to share his honor's worries is subordinate's greatest honor. Yi Hua laughed lightly and patted onto Wei Chang's shoulder. How are you getting along with little Tang? It is still in the midst of planning. Wei Chang laughed dryly and said, I wonder when I will be able to push down little Tang. Recently, little Tang has been cooking soup for me frequently, and I am about to explode from drinking too much of it. Yi Hua sighed lightly and said, Sometimes, we have to learn from Lai Gu. There is no need to be so particular about it, just directly push down little Tang. Although Lai Gu's method is convenient, it cannot be compared to his honor's method. How honorable is Madam? Naturally, she cannot be compared to ordinary human women. Conquering the body is easy, but conquering the heart is hard. Wei Chang's words hit Yi Hua's heart. Yi Hua laughed lightly. Wei Chang, you are still the one who understands my intentions well. Subordinate is also just stating facts. Wei Chang revealed a smile. His honor's praise is even more satisfying than killing someone. In the past, his honor always said that I am stupid, but now, I am finally able to share his honor's worries. If Zhu Tian was here, he would definitely give the title of number 1 wisdom to you. A slight arc appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. It is still useful to think about happy things. Wei Chang said very modestly, Subordinate's wisdom is not even half as good as Zhu Tian's, and it is even more inferior to his honors. Alright, go back and accompany your girlfriend. In the future, if there is nothing important, don't report to me anymore. My goal is just to make them fight each other. You all can do whatever you want. Chapter 203. Yi Hua took a look at the time. It's almost noon, I should go out and eat. Yi Hua walked into Qing Yutong's room and saw that the fight inside was in full swing. Yi Hua looked at his child who was standing on the stool and twisting her little butt. Her hands were not even as big as a mouse. She was too cute. Uncle, come and play. Ali will bring you to eat chicken. I guarantee that I won't steal your limelight. Dong Huangli turned her head around and shouted with a smile, revealing 2 cute dimples. Yi Hua had heard this sentence many times. Every time, little Ali would not keep her word. This bad habit of hers must have been learned from her mother. Qinya laughed. Even your uncle is afraid of you. You always steal uncle's limelight. Ali didn't do it on purpose. Are you going to let Ali watch uncle's head explode in front of you? Dong Huangli pouted her little mouth and said, causing everyone to laugh. Yi Hua was also quite speechless. Being teased by my own child, however, Yi Hua did not get angry and said, Ali, it's already noon, what do you want to eat? Ali can just eat steamed buns, it will save uncle money. Hearing this, Qing Yutong felt her heart ache. Ali, uncle and aunt have plenty of money, you can eat whatever you want. Really? On the way here, Ali ate all of Uncle Green and Red's money, causing Uncle Green and Red to starve. Ali doesn't want you two to starve too. Dong Huangli pouted her mouth, and her eyes immediately turned red. Thinking up to here, Dong Huangli choked with sobs. Ali will always harm people wherever she goes. Seeing this, Qinya also felt her heart ache. She carried Dong Huangli in her embrace and comforted her. Ali is really sensible, but sensible children shouldn't cry. But Ali just can't hold it in. Dong Huangli nestled in Qinya's embrace and said pitifully. Seeing how sad his child was, Yi Hua felt very upset. Just what kind of mother am I? How can I let my child suffer? If not for Ali, I would definitely hang her up and beat her up, and let her know that as a mother, I cannot let my child suffer. Yi Hua carried Dong Huangli and said gravely, Ali, just tell me what you want to eat, I can let you eat anything in this world. Uncle, you are so good to Ali, you are even better than mother. Dong Huangli hugged onto Yi Hua's neck and said. Hearing these words, Yi Hua felt very comfortable in his heart. However, when he thought about how Ali's mother made Ali kneel on the keyboard, he immediately became angry. Just you wait. At that time, I, the Supreme Overlord, will also make you kneel on the keyboard. You dare to abuse my child? Yi Hua rubbed onto Dong Huangli's back, then said to everyone, let's go out and eat first. Everyone smiled and stood up. Qinya asked her little sister in a low voice, Yutong, don't you feel that Yi Hua is very concerned about Ali? Qing Yutong paused for a moment, then held onto her big sister's arm that was like a lotus root. It might be that brother-in-law likes children more, and adding on that big sister, the child in your stomach has not been born yet, so, Qing Yutong didn't know how to continue making up a story. Your yearning for Ali has turned into an illness, and you are treating Ali as your own child. Qing Yutong felt that this way of putting it should be fine. Qing Ye wrinkled her brows. Really? Could it be fake? After all, little Ali is so cute. Everyone loves her and cars have flat tires. Qing Ye poked onto her little sister's forehead petulantly. You always have a lot of twisted logic, let's go. Qing Yutong let out a sigh of relief. Ever since that night when I saw brother-in-law display his the law of acting cool, Qing Yutong felt that brother-in-law is not just an ordinary kind of awesome. How is it possible for such an awesome brother-in-law to be so concerned about an unfamiliar child? It is obviously impossible. The only possibility is that Ali is brother-in-law's child. Just by looking at brother-in-law's loving and caring look, it is clear that Ali is indeed brother-in-law's child. It is fortunate that big sister didn't notice it. However, if brother-in-law continues to hide it from me, when the truth comes out, will big sister be able to bear it? I am truly worried. Everyone came downstairs and the green and red brothers could be seen holding onto a black pellet, and they were currently hesitating. Uncle Green, Uncle Red, Dong Huangli shouted out. Little brother Red was startled, and the black pellet that was in his hand fell onto the ground, causing a layer of dust to fall onto it. However, little brother Red didn't despise the black pellet as he picked it up and placed it back into his pocket. The two of you come over as well, Yi Hua said faintly while carrying on to Dong Huangli. The green and red brothers were startled. Now that I know that this man is the boss of this shop, I reckon that he must be very rich. Let's go out and eat good food together. This is great. The two walked to the back of the line and chatted with each other in a low voice. Big brother, do you think that the pellet that Uncle Wei gave us is poison? Little brother Red had a very conflicted look on his face. Big brother Green let out a sigh. Uncle Wei said that this pellet can allow us to soar, but I keep feeling that, Big brother, don't you think that this pellet is too careless? I saw Uncle Wei touching around his crotch a few times before taking it out. It couldn't be. Little brother Red had a look of knowing the truth, and he almost threw away the pellet. Sigh, I smelled it just now. It shouldn't be that kind of thing. Damn, big brother, you actually smelled it. Little brother Red had a surprised look on his face. Big brother Green raised his hand and slapped onto little brother Red's hand. Are you an idiot? I was smelling to see if it is poison or not. Big brother, can you even smell if it is poison? I am afraid that you will not be poisoned to death, but will be suffocated to death. Little brother Red stretched out his hand and smelled the pellet. Just now, it was my right hand that grabbed onto the pellet. Big brother Green was very annoyed. Forget it, I will decide if I want to eat it or not tonight. This black pellet is a good thing. To other people, it is a treasure, but when it fell into the hands of the green and red brothers, they were hesitating. After all, the pellet was taken out from Wei Chang's crotch. Who knows what it is? After everyone walked out of the alley, Qing Yutong said with a smile, Ali, do you want to eat hot pot? There is a hot pot shop opposite of here, and the taste of the hot pot is pretty good. Dong Huangli looked towards the direction of the hot pot shop, then immediately buried her head into Yi Hua's embrace. Ali, don't go there, there is a bad guy over there. Ali, what's wrong? Qing Ye rubbed onto Dong Huangli's head and asked consolingly. Ali doesn't like that hot pot shop, uncle. Can we not go there? Dong Huangli begged. This expression of hers made Yi Hua feel very sad. Yi Hua said gravely, the two of you, come over here. The green and red brothers immediately walked over, feeling a bit nervous. Why doesn't Ali want to go there? Yi Hua asked coldly. The green and red brothers took a look at each other, and Big Brother Green said, Boss, yesterday, we passed by that hot pot shop, but when the boss of that hot pot saw that our clothes were dirty and messy, he chased us away. My little brother and I went to the hot pot shop to argue with the boss, and in the end, the boss of that hot pot shop chased us away. After arguing with the boss of that hot pot shop, Big Brother Green's choice of words was really sharp. Yi Hua finally understood what was going on, and he asked Dong Huangli, who was in his embrace, Ali, Was it like this? Uncle, back then, Ali was indeed dirty and messy, and it affected other people's appetite. Dong Huang Li's words made everyone feel uncomfortable. Chapter 204. My child was actually chased out of the restaurant by a puny human. When Yi Hua heard this news, his expression darkened. Seeing that Yi Hua's expression wasn't good, Dong Huang Li pulled onto her collar and said, "Uncle, don't be angry." Yi Hua said gravely, "Ali, be good, Uncle will teach you one thing today." Dong Huang Li pursed her lips, then nodded her head and said, Ali will definitely study hard." Qinya still didn't know about Yi Hua's theory and said hurriedly, "Yi Hua, don't teach the child bad things." Yi Hua didn't pay attention to Dong Huang Li and walked towards King Song Residence's hot pot restaurant. Yi Zizi and the Green and Red brothers followed closely behind. "Big sister, let's go," Qin Yutong shouted lightly. Qinya sighed lightly, then followed behind Yi Hua. When they arrived at King Song Residence's hot pot restaurant, Yi Hua paused for a moment. "I feel that something is wrong." Before they even entered the restaurant, they could already hear the customers scolding. "What's wrong with your restaurant? Why did the taste of the soup change?" "That's right. What kind of bullshit taste is this? Ask your boss to come out." F***K, you are using this kind of thing to fool people. The restaurant is bullying the customers. Yi Hua knew what was wrong. The number of customers was decreasing. In the past, there would be a queue outside the restaurant at noon. However, today, there was no such situation, and there was actually a customer who said that the soup did not taste good. "Big brother, when we came yesterday, there was a long queue outside the restaurant. Why is there no one here today?" Little brother Red said confusedly as he looked around. Big brother Green raised his hand and slapped, "Idiot, don't you know that people in the city like to hire actors?" At this moment, a man who was wearing a suit hurriedly walked down the stairs and arrived in front of those customers who were clamoring, "Everyone, what's the matter?" "What matter? Have a taste. Is this even something that humans eat?" The man said embarrassedly, "I am really sorry, I just took over this restaurant today. If the taste is not good, I will immediately ask the chef to change it. Treat today's meal as my treat, free of charge." F***K, who cares? Those customers said in disdain, then picked up the food and left, leaving the restaurant in an instant. The man sighed and shook his head. Big brother Green said gravely, "The one who worked yesterday was a little fat." "Big brother, didn't you notice that everyone in this shop has changed?" Little brother Red sized up the shop for a bit, and all of the waitresses that he saw yesterday have changed. The two of them looked at each other. Ignoring the surprised look of the boss, they rushed into the kitchen and came out after a while. F***CK, even the chef has been changed. Little brother Red found it hard to believe. Those chefs yesterday were all fat, and today, they were all skinny. Could it be that they lost 100 kilograms in a single night? The boss walked to the front of Yi Hua and said with a smile, "Everyone, what do you want to eat?" After finished speaking, the boss felt a bit embarrassed. "Is it him?" Yi Hua asked gravely. Dong Huang Li shook her head. "Uncle, he is not that bad, uncle." Yi Hua asked coldly, "Where is the original boss?" The boss sat on the stool weakly. "Sigh, this is really a big loss. I am asking about your original boss." Yi Hua shouted out lightly. Dong Huang Li hurriedly said, "Uncle, don't be angry, being angry will harm your body." Yi Hua patted onto Dong Huang Li's back. "Uncle, don't be angry." "Uncle, you're such a good boy," the boss stood up and sighed. "How would I know where he went? I only took over last night. He promised to give me the correct recipe. I tried it back then and it tasted the same. But when we opened for business at noon today, the taste changed. He left one table after another. I'm so angry." Big brother Green walked to the front of Yi Hua and said in a low voice, "Boss, all of the employees here have been changed." The hot pot restaurant's boss said angrily, "Liar. I am going to call the police." Yi Hua took a deep breath and walked out of the hot pot restaurant. Looking at the small alley that was on the opposite side of the road, if I stand on the third floor of the hot pot restaurant, I should be able to see my room on the second floor of Leisure Bar. Looking around, Other than this restaurant that opened a restaurant, the other restaurants were all selling clothes. Yi Hua. Qinya called out tenderly. Yi Zizi changed from her usual mischievous attitude and said solemnly, "Big brother, we are being monitored." Qinya looked at Yi Zizi in shock. Why do I feel that Yi Zizi is even more mature than me? When the Green and Red brothers heard what Yi Zizi said, they almost peed in their pants. What does that mean? Being monitored? I am a wanted criminal. Could it be that they are also wanted criminals? F***K. Did I just barge into a bandit's den? Ali, let's go and eat at McDonald's, okay? Yi Hua didn't say anything and said to Dong Huangli, who was in his embrace. Dong Huangli nodded her head. As expected, no matter where I go, I will be harming people. Everyone arrived at McDonald's, and Yi Zizi returned back to her abnormal state, causing Qinya to feel dizzy. The Green and Red brothers were finally able to enjoy the taste of fried chicken drumsticks. Although Yi Hua was teasing Dong Huangli, he was already contacting Wei Chang. Your Honor, Wei Chang, do you still remember when that King Song Mansion's hot pot restaurant was opened? It should have been opened not long after Your Honor opened Leisure Bar. It should be around 2 months later. Your Honor is asking about this. Is there anything that I can help you with? We have been monitored for a very long time. Wei Chang cried out in surprise. Wei Chang said gravely, Your Honor, leave this matter to subordinate to handle. No need I, the Supreme Overlord, like this kind of surprise. If everything is just a routine, then it would be meaningless. I would like to see what kind of surprise the other party can give me. Subordinate is thinking too much. After cutting off the contact with Wei Chang, Yi Hua thought to himself, seems like I have finally met a decent opponent. Since 4 years ago, the people that I have been monitoring are all humans. Not bad. Unique way of thinking. If not for Ali's appearance, they would have continued monitoring us. Suddenly, Yi Hua thought of a possibility. Why did they suddenly retreat? Could it be that they know about my relationship with Ali? They know that I am coming over to take revenge? That's why they retreated overnight? Cunning humans, this time, I will use my brain to play with you all and make you all sincerely convinced. Also, these 2 Green and Red Fur brothers have pretty good vigilance. Since they are able to protect Ali during the journey, I will let them continue to protect Ali's safety. After all, it is indeed not good for my child to not have a few bodyguards by his side. But their attire, Qinya, give them some money and buy some clothes. Yi Hua said lightly. If others were to find out that they are my subordinates, wouldn't they laugh at me for not having money? Qinya nodded her head. The clothes that they are wearing are indeed a bit. At this moment, Big Brother Green wiped his mouth and said nervously, Boss, I have something that I want to talk to you about. Yi Hua drank a mouthful of Sprite, then said faintly, Speak. Big Brother Green said hurriedly, Yesterday, us 2 brothers brought Ali along to look for you all. We went to a bar, and that bar owner actually wanted to capture Ali. I reckon that the bar owner seems to be a human trafficker. Luckily, we managed to run away, and the bar owner even sent people to chase after us. That's right, that woman is a bad person and there was even a man with her. Little Brother Red added. Dong Huangli placed down the bone in her hand and said, If it wasn't for Uncle Green and Uncle Red, Ali would have been captured and sold away yesterday. Chapter 205. She wasn't by her child's side, and such things happened one after another. Do you really think that I don't have a temper? Yi Hua said gravely, I will head over there later. Qinya was filled with worry. She was afraid that Yi Hua would do something extreme. Qing Yutong and Yi Zizi were very excited. We are able to see brother-in-law act cool again. As long as brother-in-law acts, it will definitely be extremely awesome. The Green and Red brothers were actually very worried. Were they really going to go together? Looking at them, he was afraid that only he and his little brother had the ability to fight. It seemed that there would be a fight. Meanwhile, Dong Huang Li's heart felt warm. This kind of warmth is something that I have never felt before. I like Uncle more and more, I like him more and more, I like him even more than my mother. It had to be said that this was the advantage of having a bloodline. Even if they hadn't met for a long time, as long as they were close to each other, that warmth would appear. Even though they hadn't acknowledged each other yet, it was still better than acknowledging each other. Lead the way, Yi Hua said coldly while carrying on to Dong Huangli. Big Brother Green felt a bit awkward and said in a low voice, "Boss, this is also my first time coming to a big city. I am not familiar with the road, but I know that the bar is called Baidu Bar." Navigation, Yi Hua said gravely. Why do I have to take in two idiots to think that I have to teach them everything? Little Brother Red immediately took out his phone and led the way with Big Brother Green. This kind of combination caused the passers-by to exclaim endlessly. There was a child, there was a beauty, there was a little lowly, and there was even a non-mainstream. Could this be the most popular Heavenly King combination this year? Only a puppy would be able to become famous if they made a debut, but if they lied, they would become famous. Not long after, the group arrived at the entrance of the Baidu Bar. It was only 2 in the afternoon, and the door was closed. However, there were 2 men smoking at the entrance. "Boss, it's the one in the jacket. He took us in yesterday." Big Brother Green hurriedly stepped forward and said, with the support of the boss, there was nothing to be afraid of. However, he still had to be prepared to protect little Ali. It would be troublesome to bring 3 women along. Although my Big Brother Green is extraordinary, punching the surrounding villages and kicking the various clans, he still can't withstand the enemy's human wave tactics. "Big Brother, if we really fight later, you protect Ali, and I'll protect the lady boss." Little Brother Red's expression was very serious, unprecedentedly serious, as if he was about to encounter the most difficult moment in his life. Big Brother Green sighed heavily. "All right, if I, Big Brother, unfortunately die today, remember to take good care of my mother." "Don't worry, Big Brother. If I die today, please take good care of my old man." The Green and Red brothers held each other's hands tightly. "We'll still be good brothers in the afterlife." "Good brother." "Uncle Green, Uncle Red, what are you guys doing? Hurry up and come in." The Green and Red brothers turned their heads to look. How did they all enter? What about the 2 men? Just as he adjusted his mood, his aura swelled to an unprecedented level. They actually all entered. "Big Brother. It must be those 2 who threatened the boss. Quick, rush in and save them." "All right." The Green and Red brothers squeezed out their killing intent and charged into the bar. A minute later, the Green and Red brothers stood behind everyone with flushed faces. They wished they could crawl into a crack in the wall. This was too embarrassing. Qin Ya and Qin Yutong covered their mouths and laughed lightly, and Dong Huangli, who was in Yi Hua's embrace, laughed to the point that she was lying down. A trace of a smile appeared on Yi Hua's face. Yi Zizi shook her head helplessly. "Are you guys here to be funny?" The Green and Red brothers expressed that we are here to be funny. Although it was funny, the Green and Red brothers were also shocked by the scene in front of them. Those 2 men were actually floating in the air, and it seemed like their hands were tied behind their back. Moreover, their faces were filled with pain. "Are you sure that this isn't a magic show? Call your boss out," Yi Hua said faintly. The one who made a move was naturally not Yi Hua, but Yi Zizi. These ants weren't worth Yi Hua making a move. The 2 young men who were tied up in the air felt very uncomfortable, and it seemed like they didn't even have the strength to speak. Qinya slowly turned her face away. She couldn't bear to look at this scene. "Uncle sure is formidable, but since they are tied up, they don't seem to be able to call out for help, right?" Dong Huangli said naively. Yi Zizi placed one of the men down, and as expected, that man hurriedly called for help. "Isn't it just a special ability? Let me tell you guys. Our boss is acquainted with special ability users. You guys are dead for sure." Yi Zizi's hand moved, and the man who was clamoring just a moment ago was hung up again. "Yi Hua, it is enough to just teach them a lesson, don't kill them," Qinya said in a low voice. She couldn't bear to do such a thing. Yi Hua said faintly, "Qinya, today, not only do we have to teach Ali a lesson, you are also the same. Being soft-hearted will only harm others." Qinya wrinkled her brows and didn't argue with Yi Hua. After all, they were outside. "Qinya, if it wasn't for those 2 brothers, do you think that Ali would still be here right now? Right now, we don't even know where he was sold to. If you pity them, who will pity Ali?" Hearing Yi Hua's reprimand, Qingye was unable to refute, because that was indeed the case. Uncle, don't bully Aunt Qing. It's all Ali's fault. Dong Huangli hurriedly persuaded Dong Huangli. Aunt Qing looks so wronged. How can Uncle bully Aunt Qing like this? Yi Hua stroked onto Dong Huangli's hair. Ali, showing mercy to your enemy is the same as being cruel to yourself. You can toy with your enemy, but you definitely cannot show mercy to them. Understand? Dong Huangli didn't understand what Dong Huangli said, but she still felt that Dong Huangli's words were amazing. Yi Hua was very gratified. My child is easy to teach right now, and Qingye, on the other hand, has to take it slow. I have to get rid of her bad habit. Big brother, what are you doing? Little brother Red actually saw his big brother taking notes. My God. Big brother Green said gravely, we must remember Boss' priceless advice. In the future, we will be following Boss around. We should also learn a bit. What is it called again? High-end, grand and classy? That's right, that's it. Big brother Green lowered his head and wrote down. Little brother Red laughed. Big brother, I can just copy your homework when we go back. You recognize my Oracle Bone script? Big brother Green's notebook could be seen dancing like a group of dragons. It would be very hard for ordinary people to recognize it. Little brother Red laughed. Big brother, I have already copied your homework for so many years. I have already learned all of your Oracle Bone script. Amazing, I didn't expect that you would secretly learn Big Brother's ultimate skill again. That's right, I often follow Big Brother's lead and score 0, falling from the first place to the second from the bottom. Big Brother Green asked curiously, then, who is the first from the bottom? Big Brother, how would I dare to snatch the first place from you? Good brother, Big Brother indeed didn't misjudge you. Little brother Red cried bitterly. Back then, his teacher stroked his head and said, You will definitely get into the top school. In actuality, it wasn't the top school, it was just farming. I was deceived. About half an hour later, a man and a woman could be seen walking into the bar with around 10 people. The man was precisely Kuan Chong and Qing Lian, and when they saw Dong Huangli who was in Yi Hua's embrace, they immediately knew the reason why they came. Chapter 206. Suddenly, Qing Lian recalled. Isn't this the owner of the leisure bar? Last year at leisure bar, I was lucky enough to meet him for a while. He was really handsome. Brother Kuan, he is the owner of that leisure bar. Qing Lian's expression was solemn. Back then, that leisure bar's business was booming, and many owners were jealous and wanted to cause trouble. In the end, all of them were finished. Either the customers went missing, or the shop was closed, and the customers went missing again. From then on, no one dared to provoke the Qing bar, because it was too mysterious. Of course, Kuan Chong had heard of this boss, but he never expected that the child he wanted to kidnap last night was his. This matter was more troublesome. Kuan Chong and the others were not surprised at the sight of the two subordinates hovering in the air. Instead, they smiled and walked forward. Esteemed guests have arrived. Apologies for not coming out to greet you. Yi Hua didn't pay attention to Dong Huangli, who was in his bosom, and asked, Is it them? Dong Huangli nodded her head, then buried her head into Yi Hua's clothes, seemingly very scared. Ali, don't be afraid when you run into trouble, you have to face it bravely. Yi Hua taught Ali attentively. It isn't good for me to develop such a habit when I am not by my child's side. She really didn't know how her mother raised her. It was very normal for Dong Huangli to have this kind of behavior. After all, she was still a child, and with her parents around, it was only natural for her to act a bit more weak and gentle. Uncle, Ali understands. Dong Huangli was still very obedient, and no longer tried to hide from Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli looked at the man and woman in front of her. Qing Lian smiled and said apologetically, Boss, I'm really sorry. We didn't know that she was your child. Yi Hua slowly raised his head and said with a cold tone, If I fall into your hands? What will happen to a Lily? Kuan Chong and Qing Lian's expressions changed slightly. It seemed that today's matter wouldn't end so easily. Boss, look at what you're saying. I'm definitely going to watch carefully. Kuan Chong was trying to curry favor with him. After all, this man in front of him was very mysterious. This time, Yi Hua didn't ask Dong Huangli, Instead, he asked Chinya, how do you think we should deal with them? Chinya, who was standing at the back, paused for a moment, then said, Yewa, call the police. What if it was our child? Will you still choose to call the police? Yihua asked gravely. Chinya's heart paused. If it is my own child, then there would only be one result for them. Seeing that Chinya did not reply, Yihua had an answer in his heart. After all, she is not my biological daughter. Li, how do you think uncle should handle this matter? Yihua asked curiously. Dong Huang Li was a bit at a loss, because she had never encountered something like this before. Dong Huang Li said with a childish voice, Li doesn't know. Kuan Chang's and Qing Lian's smiles stiffened. Was the boss planning to fall out with them? Kuan Chong and Qing Lian had overestimated themselves. At most, they were just tools to educate their wives and children. Boss, I don't think that's a good idea. Kuan Chong squeezed out a smile. He could no longer hide his anger. Qing Lian stopped smiling and said coldly, Boss, we can compensate you, but you can't humiliate us like this. Yihua still didn't pay attention to him and continued to teach the child. Ali, think about it, if it wasn't for the Green and Red brothers last night and you were caught by them, what kind of consequences would you have had? Could it be that Ali doesn't hate them? Yihua asked lightly. Dong Huang Li slightly frowned, then said in a low voice, Ali hates them. They don't just want to kidnap Ali alone, there are also many children that are Ali's age that were sold by them, and their whereabouts are unknown. Ali, do you think that people like Ali can still live in this world? Although Yihua didn't have a child, he had raised Yi Zizi before. Furthermore, Yi Zizi was one of the big shots of the 7 sins. Thus, teaching Yi Zizi this way was very easy. Alright, this is purely teaching Yi Zizi. Can't. Sure enough, Ali's answer was very straightforward. Chinya, who was at the side, couldn't bear to watch anymore and snatched Dong Huang Li over. Yihua, Ali is still so young, how can you teach her this? The goal of today's education had already been achieved. Yihua wanted to hear the child's final answer. As expected of the bloodline of the Supreme Overlord, she was born with a bloodthirsty bloodline. As for Chinya, I still have to take it slow. Boss, you are going too far. Qing Lian shouted out, then actually took out a lady's pistol. The Green and Red brothers who were at the back immediately turned pale with fright, then squatted down while holding onto their heads. The people in the city are too scary, they would take out guns for no reason. Unlike us in the countryside, at most, we can only use water pipes to fight, we are not allowed to use knives. While everyone was being pointed at by the gun, Chinya tightly held onto Dong Huang Li, and her gaze flickered with a cold glint. Chinya, they want to kill us. Do you still insist on calling the police? Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up, then sat down. Chinya let out a sigh. Up to you. The corner of Yihua's mouth arced upwards. Seems like I didn't come here for nothing today. I have to look for more textbooks like this in the future and bring them along to learn from them. Just look at my sister-in-law, they will become much more sensible. Qing Lian's gaze turned cold, and she who had a heart like a snake continuously pulled the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. A series of gunshots rang out, and golden bullets flew towards Yihua and the others. Suddenly, a few sparks flickered in the sky, and soon after, golden bullets could be seen falling onto the ground. Yi Zizi stretched out her small hand and yawned, and a strand of her hair quietly retracted back into her body. Qing Lian tightly wrinkled her brows. As expected, a pistol is useless against them. The Green and Red brothers were simply scared to the point of peeing in their pants. This is just like a gunfight in a Hong Kong movie, so scary. Are the two of you still not going to call for help? Yihua said lightly. What's the point of killing 2 small fries? The ones behind them are the ones that are interesting. Kuan Chong knew that the other party wouldn't let this matter go easily, but he still said, Boss, if I were to let this matter go, you two can leave. However, if I were to make this phone call, the consequences would be very serious, and even I am afraid of the consequences. Yi Zizi suddenly laughed out. This human is so funny. However, why aren't his honor and the others laughing? I am the only one laughing, I seem so stupid. Yi Zizi immediately stopped laughing. Call. Yi Hua wanted to see who the other party is. This bragging is about to reach the heavens. Even I, the Supreme Overlord, have never acted like this. The way I handle things is as low profile as always, and I have never killed humans indiscriminately, and I am also not like how I was in the past when I would exterminate a family for no reason. Kun Chong immediately made the phone call. However, in Yi Hua's eyes, their lives were already starting to count down. I have already given you two a chance. If you two don't want it, then don't blame me for it. Kun Chong laughed. Qing Lian leaned onto Kun Chong's shoulder with one of her hands. Brother Kun, from what I see, this boss is only as it. From the looks of it, rumors are just rumors. We have to see it for ourselves. Kun Chong stretched out his hand and slapped onto Qing Lian's plump and perky, but you are still acting so wanton in front of so many people. Brother Kun, don't you like this kind of thing? Qing Ya immediately covered Dong Huang Li's eyes. Children shouldn't be able to see, and they shouldn't be able to hear. Little brother Red, who was at the back, stretched out his hand and covered his big brother's line of sight. Big brother, if you look too much, you will be executed later on. Then why are you still looking at it? I will tell you after I finish looking at it. Little brother Red looked at the phone with great interest. Big brother Green stretched out his hand and slapped onto his own head. How are you going to tell me such a scene? Don't worry, I described it very well. Back then, I even prepared to write a novel, and I even wrote a few chapters and uploaded them. The results were not bad, but in the end, my novel was banned. Big brother Green said in a low voice, actually back then I read the novel, and the writing was indeed not bad. Every time, I would have to take off my pants? Really? I remember that you were also present at that time. Chapter 207. 10 minutes later, a roar rang out on the street outside of Baidu Bar. Just by listening to the roar, one could tell that it was a supercar with at least 10 cylinders. As expected, a mad cow drove over from the distance. The low body of the car and the smooth lines of the car made the men on the street reveal out passionate gazes, while the girls wanted to see who was driving the car and expressed that they wanted to get on the car to enjoy the air conditioner. The two Lamborghini could be seen stopping at the entrance of Baidu Bar. The scissor door opened from both sides, and two young men walked out of the car. The person who was driving the car wore sunglasses and had an imposing appearance, causing the girls to be infatuated with him. And the co-driver had a respectful expression, looking like a lackey. Young master, the old master is still waiting for you to return home. The attendant's name was Chong Xing, and he looked rather handsome. Ding Yuanwu twisted his neck. I will return home after I teach a lesson to some blind people. Ding Yuanwu was the son of Ding family. Although he was the youngest in the family, he was indeed the son of the family head Ding Yuan's most beloved woman, causing Ding Yuanwu to be spoiled since he was young. In the secular world, he was a famous playboy, and hunting women was his biggest hobby. This bar was also opened by Ding Yuanwu, and he would come here to hunt women whenever he had nothing to do. This time, when he was preparing to return home to report, his lackey just happened to call him and said that someone was causing trouble in the bar, so he came over to take a look. As the son of Ding family, how could he swallow this anger? It would have been fine if he didn't know, but now that he knew, he definitely had to vent his anger. Bringing along his attendant, Ding Yuanwu walked into the bar. Chong Xing helplessly followed behind, thinking to himself, young master can't go on like this. Those few big brothers are eyeing you covetously, they have long found you unpleasant. When Ding Yuanwu walked into the bar, he immediately took off his sunglasses and stared fixedly at Qing Ya, Qing Yutong, and Yi Zizi. If I were to take down these three, I will not be able to get off the bed for the rest of my life. Kun Chong made a great contribution this time, I will be rewarded. Young master, it's them. Kun Chong quickly walked to the front of Ding Yuanwu, not knowing that he only had 10 minutes left to live. Ding Yuanwu patted on Kun Chong's shoulder. You did well. Thank you for your praise, young master. Ding Yuanwu walked past Kun Chong and arrived not far away from Yi Hua. Ding Yuanwu took a look at the two people who were floating in the air and said, your strength is not bad, but you are still just a frog at the bottom of a well. Yi Hua said faintly, Yutong, bring Qing Ya and leave first, this is not suitable for children. Yes, brother-in-law. Just as Ding Yuanwu wanted to stop him, he realized that he couldn't move his body at all. He looked a little panicked. Big Brother Green and Little Brother Red followed behind them and prepared to leave. The city was too scary. "You two stay behind," Yi Hua said faintly. Big Brother Green and Little Brother Red's hearts sunk as they walked back to where they came from. Seeing that Qin Ya and Qin Yutong had left, Yi Hua slowly stood up, then said coldly towards Ding Yuanwu, "Is there anyone else behind you?" "Who are you?" Attendant Chang Xing shouted. He actually dared to disrespect the young master, courting death. Yi Hua didn't reply. "Conversing with these ants is already beneath my status, and today, I am also seeking justice for my child." Chang Xing's face darkened, and his body disappeared instantly. His speed was even faster than Long Outyen's, and it was shocking. In the blink of an eye, he appeared behind Yi Hua, and the dagger in his hand ruthlessly pierced towards Yi Hua's temple. Ding Yuanwu, who was being controlled, sneered. "You guys know nothing about my attendant." However, a second later, Ding Yuanwu went into a daze and shouted out hurriedly, "Chang Xing, what are you standing there for? Go and stab him." Chang Xing stood behind Yi Hua, and the dagger was only a centimeter away from Yi Hua's temple. "Seems like you don't have any backup, Zizi. I will reward you." Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette and walked towards the outside. Yi Zizi grinned. "Thank you, big cousin." After Yi Hua left, Chang Xing was exposed to everyone's vision. A strand of hair could be seen passing through the back of his head from his forehead. His entire body was trembling weakly, and his eyes were rolling upwards, as if his head was being sucked by something. The Green and Red brothers hugged each other tightly. Why does this scene look like an alien? Looking at Chang Xing's appearance, everyone took in a breath of cold air, especially Ding Yuanwu. He looked as if he had seen a ghost. "My attendant is one of the top-ranked attendants in the family, and he was actually killed in an instant. How is this possible? Just who is that little lowly? I am the son of Ding family. If you dare to kill me, just wait to be hunted down by Ding family." Ding Yuanwu's gaze was fierce. "These people are too arrogant. If I let them know of my identity, they will definitely kneel down and beg for mercy." Yi Zizi licked her scarlet lips and slowly walked out, while Chang Xing was hanging behind her. Chang Sheng's entire body began to tremble violently, and his skin was quickly fading away. "Big brother, you are the son of Ding family. When I have time, I will tell your family. Don't worry, very soon, there will be no more pain." Yi Zizi's lowly voice was especially alluring, but this kind of scene was like the demonic voice from hell, shaking the hearts of everyone. The two ponytails fluttered slowly, and countless strands of hair darted out like poisonous snakes. "Ghost! Save me!" Kun Chong and Qing Lian couldn't care about their image anymore and immediately ran outside. Their desire to survive was very strong, but unfortunately, the one they were facing was Yi Zizi. From a certain perspective, Yi Zizi's strength was even stronger than Yi Hua's. Strands of hair mercilessly pierced through the back of everyone's head, and fresh blood dyed the hair red. The blood was transmitted into Yi Zizi's brain, and that pair of scarlet eyes became even more bright and beautiful. "I am the son of Ding family. My father will not let you all off. He will kill all of you." Ding Yuanwu, who was hanging in the air, actually didn't say much from the start to the end. The sentence that he said the most was, "I am the son of Ding family." Yi Zizi patted her small mouth and yawned, then said sweetly, "I have seen a lot of people like you. After your father comes, your lines will definitely not change, and after that, your grandfather will come. If your great-grandfather didn't die, then your great-grandfather will definitely change his lines. For example, even if my Ding family becomes a ghost, I will not let you all off." Yi Zizi imitated Ding Yuanwu's tone and revealed a scared look. Ding Yuanwu felt that his everything was being sucked away, and he was scared. "I am still young, I don't want to die." However, before Ding Yuanwu could beg for mercy, Yi Zizi said pitifully, "Don't kill me, I have money, I have a lot of things, I will give them all to you." Soon after, Yi Zizi smiled sweetly, "Are you going to say that? Looking at your expression, I know that I guessed correctly." "You." "Alright, I have had enough fun and eaten my fill, I still need to go back and play games. Bye-bye." At this moment, everyone instantly turned into dried corpses and fell heavily onto the ground. Yi Zizi pouted her mouth. Your Honor's action was so cool, Zizi wants to learn it too. Yi Zizi could be seen stretching out her right hand. Bang, the sound of a finger snap was indeed worthy of its name. At this moment, all of the corpses turned into dust, and even the interior of the bar was the same as well. Yi Zizi let out a breath. That was so dangerous. Fortunately, I managed to control it. Hey, when are the two of you going to stop hugging each other? Let's go. Yi Zizi shouted out towards the Red and Green brothers, then hopped out of the bar. The Green and Red brothers took a look at each other, and feeling that their posture was a bit ambiguous, they immediately let go of each other. Big brother, I have decided. Little brother, I have decided. Chapter 208. Everyone returned back to Leisure Bar, and Qing Yutong and Yi Zizi began a new round of game. Dong Huangli had long fallen asleep in Yi Hua's embrace. She is just a child. After all, after eating and drinking to her heart's content, she would still need to sleep. As for the Green and Red brothers, they were temporarily acting as the security of Leisure Bar. However, right now, the Green and Red brothers were a little excited. Within the bedroom, Yi Hua placed Dong Huangli onto his bed, then lightly covered her with a blanket. How can this little guy be so adorable? Qingya sat on the sofa at the side and looked at her husband's gentle movements. I bought a doll and hugged it to sleep, and he even said that other than me, no other things can appear on the bed. This seems to be what he said before they went to Sanya. And now, Ali was added into the mix. Although I don't suggest it, Yi Hua's strange actions made me very worried. Yi Hua, come over here, I have something to talk to you about. Qingya couldn't bear it anymore. I have to get to the bottom of this matter. Yi Hua shushed Qingya, then signaled Qingya to lower her voice and not disturb the child's sleep. Slowly getting up, Yi Hua walked over to Qingya's side. Stretching out his hand, Yi Hua hugged onto Qingya's slender waist and directly kissed onto Qingya's waist. It has been a few hours since I last kissed her. I really miss her. However, this time, Yi Hua didn't succeed and kissed Qingya's palm. What's wrong? Yi Hua asked puzzledly. Pouting her lips, Qingya said softly, after you came back today, you have been very abnormal. Yi Hua was startled. Was my behavior that obvious? How is it abnormal? A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth, and his hand quietly slipped into Qingya's clothes. Qingya grabbed onto the hand that was doing evil. Stop messing around. I'm being serious here. Be serious. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. All right, what do you want to ask? Are you hiding something from me? Qingya stared fixedly at Yi Hua, not having the intention to joke around. Yi Hua was also looking at Qingya. Should I tell her right now? Or should he wait for a period of time and let her get along with Ali? How could that be? Yi Hua said, then pulled Qingya into his embrace. Qingya did not struggle as she hugged onto Yi Hua and said in a low voice, Yi Hua, I like you, but don't lie to me, okay? Yi Hua's heart thumped. If Ali's mother had a brain, she would definitely come looking for him. It was only a matter of time before the two of them met. Only God knew what kind of situation it would cause. He did like surprises, but he didn't like this kind of surprise. But he had already said it. How could he deny it? Slapping my own face. Now, he could only brace himself and go forward. When the first lie was told, there would be even more lies to cover up that lie, and in the end, everything would be a lie. This was the human nature that Yi Hua had experienced. Qingya suddenly hugged onto Yi Hua, pushed him onto the sofa, and kissed him ferociously. I, the supreme overlord, am becoming more and more fond of this woman. In order to prevent her from feeling sad, I actually lied to her. Uncle, Auntie, are you thirsty? Ali will get you some water. Unknowingly, Dong Huangli was already standing beside the two of them, and her eyes were wide open. The uncle and the auntie were actually sucking on each other as if they were very hungry. Moreover, the uncle's hands were under the auntie's clothes. The auntie must be feeling a little itchy and the uncle was helping her to stop the itch. The two of them turned their heads around and looked towards Dong Huangli, then immediately separated from each other. In front of a child, it was best to pay attention to one's image. Ali, why aren't you sleeping anymore? Qingya's mood was very good as she asked while hugging onto Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli rubbed her big eyes and yawned. Ali woke up when I heard the smacking sounds. Smacking sounds? Qingya pinched onto Yi Hua petulantly. It's all your fault. Women are just so unreasonable. You are obviously the one who pushed me down and touched me all over my body. Ali, what does Ali want to eat tonight? Qingya immediately changed the topic. When a child hears about food, they would be more excited than anything else. I don't know, Qingya said. Ali, do you want to eat crayfish? Crayfish are very delicious. Really? Of course, Uncle likes to eat crayfish too. Whatever Uncle likes, Ali likes to eat too. Dong Huangli's smile was about to blossom. Although this place is much smaller than my mother's place, everyone here is very concerned about me. Yi Hua immediately stood up. All right. Let's eat crayfish tonight. Ali likes crayfish. Qingya laughed helplessly. I feel that my suggestion just now was just asking for trouble. At Voidless Realm that was a few thousand miles away, Dong Huangbaiji was sitting on the throne in the palace, and 8 elders were standing respectfully below her. How many days has it been? Where is he? Dong Huangbaiji shouted out coldly, and an austere aura immediately erupted out. Xing Han took a step forward. Your Majesty, His Highness has the protection of the Dong Huang family. He will definitely be fine. Your Majesty, please calm down. The search area is gradually expanding, and we will definitely be able to find His Highness and bring him back safely. Yuan De no longer dared to recklessly give the Empress any ideas. The warning that he gave the Empress last time was very clear. Dong Huangbaiji's heart was burning with anxiety. These few days, she couldn't sleep at all. Whenever she closed her eyes, she would be able to hear Ali's laughter. I will give you all 3 more days. If you all still can't find him, you all can do as you see fit. Your Majesty. Subordinate still has one more thing to report. He Xian walked out and said gravely. Dong Huangbaiji waved her hand impatiently. Speak. Ing family sent over a message. They want us to give them an explanation, otherwise, Dong Huangbaiji's beautiful eyes turned cold. Or else what? Otherwise, I will not rest until I die. All right, let's see how the Ing family will fight to the death. The ominous glint in Dong Huangbaiji's eyes became more and more intense. Her face was filled with frost, and a terrifying aura swept out from her. The 8 elders knelt and obeyed. Dong Huangbaiji disappeared from the throne and arrived at Dong Huangli's courtyard. Right now, Ali's joyful voice could no longer be heard from Dong Huangbaiji's courtyard, and Dong Huangbaiji couldn't even see Ali happily running out from the courtyard, hugging onto Dong Huangbaiji and acting coquettishly towards Dong Huangbaiji. Sitting in the courtyard's pavilion, Dong Huangbaiji was quietly pondering. The people outside are all sinister, and Ali is still so young. Although Ali had learned some defensive techniques, he would still be in danger. If I get caught and sold by the human traffickers, wouldn't that mean? Thinking up to here, Dong Huangbaiji was filled with regret. Dong Huangbaiji clenched her fists tightly. If Ali had suffered any grievances outside, I will definitely exterminate his entire family. Dong Huangbaiji also knew that it would be very difficult to find Ali. After all, the world was so big, and finding a person was like finding a needle in a haystack. It was all his fault. If she hadn't heard the news about him, she wouldn't have been so abnormal. It's fine if he injured me, but now, even my child is missing. This bastard, this bastard. Dong Huangbaiji fiercely smashed onto the stone table, and the entire stone table turned into dust. Dong Huangbaiji had treated the stone table as Yi Hua, and she really wanted to smack the stone table to death. Suddenly. Chapter 209. No matter if I am going to look for him or not, I have to go and take a look, and teach that stinky man a lesson. Thinking up to here, Dong Huangbaiji returned to her bedroom, changed into a white dress, then disappeared from Voidless Realm. Dong Huangbaiji didn't tell anyone that she was going out. After all, she was going to look for a heartless person. What's the point of teaching him a lesson? If he kneels down and admits that he was blind back then, for Ali's sake, she can bring him back to Voidless Realm to take care of him. After all, Ali needs a father's love, and sometimes, Ali would call for her father even in her dreams. Yi Hua, who was in Leisure Bar, probably didn't expect that Dong Huang Baiji had already come to look for him. I thought that it would take a while. Dark clouds gradually drifted over from the sky of Long and City, covering the entire city. Seems like a storm is coming. Seeing such weather, the people on the streets hurriedly went home to avoid being drenched by the rain. Meanwhile, on the second floor of Leisure Bar, everyone was currently enjoying the delicacy brought by the crayfish. Yi Hua, eat the crayfish. Uncle, eat the crayfish. Brother-in-law, eat the crayfish. Big brother, eat the crayfish. Yi Hua was like a master as he enjoyed this special treatment. As expected, my child doesn't need to be taught. He took the initiative to peel the crayfish for me, so sensible. Seeing that everyone was peeling the crayfish for Yi Hua, Ali also began peeling the crayfish for Yi Hua. She wasn't very fast to begin with. Peeling a crayfish would take at least 2 to 3 minutes. Even so, she still persisted. This little fellow is more sensible than other children. If only my child was half as sensible as Ali, that would be great. Alright, Ali, you can eat by yourself and can peel the crayfish for Uncle. Chinya smiled tenderly. When Dong Huang Li was peeling the crayfish, she said seriously, "No, Uncle is good to Ali, Ali has to be good to Uncle too." Qin Yutong said with a smile, "Ali is so obedient." He, of course. Dong Huang Li was very proud as she placed the crayfish in Yi Hua's bowl. Although only a little bit of the crayfish was left, Yi Hua was still very touched. My daughter peeled the crayfish. Seeing that my child was so sensible, Yi Hua was also very gratified. However, he still had to say, "Ali, in the future, you can only peel the crayfish for Uncle, you cannot peel the crayfish for other people." And Ali will listen to Uncle. Right now, Dong Huang Li was completely obedient. Chinya glared at Yi Hua. "Ali, in the future, you have to peel prawns for your husband too, just like Aunt." "Is that so?" Dong Huang Li Tian asked. Yi Hua's expression immediately sunk. Even if someone is going to peel it, it should be a man who peels it for Ali. Chinya was unconvinced and said tenderly, "Then why don't you peel the prawns for me?" Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi secretly laughed. "Can the two of you stop joking around? We are still eating." "I am me, others are others." "Ali, do you know?" Yi Hua didn't care so much. How could my daughter possibly serve other people? Dong Huang Li nodded her head in a daze. Ali understands. "You're teaching bad things to children." "Aunt Qing, I feel that what Uncle Yi said is reasonable." Dong Huang Li said sincerely. Dong Huang Li had a very mature look on her face, causing everyone to burst into laughter. Yi Zizi felt helpless. In the past, she was the one who made everyone happy. Now that it was Ali, she could finally relax. Dong Huang Li could be seen holding onto a large cup of cola and taking a sip. Burp, everyone burst into laughter once again. Ali's cuteness was already unstoppable. And when little Ali saw that everyone was so happy, she was also very happy. Little Ali didn't know that her mother had already appeared at the entrance of the alley. When Dong Huang Baiji appeared on the street, she immediately attracted everyone's attention. This woman was wearing a white long skirt, her eyes were like autumn water, her eyebrows were like light moons, and her appearance was like a painting. However, that arrogant expression of hers was like an unreachable empress, causing people to be afraid of her and not dare to have any fantasies about her. No matter if it was a man or a woman, old or young, everyone was staring at Dong Huang Baiji, who was standing still. Bang! A rear-end collision occurred on the street. The two drivers immediately opened the door and got off the car. They did not quarrel with each other. Instead, they looked at the woman who was wearing a white robe. She seemed to be sad, seemed to be confused, seemed to be afraid, seemed to be angry. That was indeed the case. Dong Huang Baiji's mood was very complicated. It has already been 3 years. This city has changed a lot, but this alley is still the same as 3 years ago. Back then, when I was pregnant with Ali, I went in and out of this alley for half a month, yet he did not appear at all. The irony is that he actually got married and had a child. This is equivalent to slapping my face in front of everyone. Today, I must get justice for myself, and I must also get someone to speak up for me. Stepping into the alley, there was not the slightest bit of change. Every single brick and every single piece of wood was so familiar, as if I had just come here yesterday. Dong Huang Baiji stretched out her slender fingers and touched onto the wall. Feeling the roughness of the wall, she raised her head and looked towards the familiar second floor. 3 years ago, I had also raised my head countless times from this position, hoping to see him calling out to me. However, it was all my own delusion. And right now, there was not the slightest bit of change on the second floor. It was the same as before. The lights were still on. Boom, boom. Thunder roared in the sky. As if feeling the resentment in Dong Huang Baiji's heart, the rainstorm instantly poured down. Dong Huang Baiji slowly walked towards Leisure Bar. Every single step she took was very difficult for her, because she was facing the truth that she did not dare to face in the past. The violent rainwater split apart above Dong Huang Baiji's head and was blocked by an invisible force. Walking to the entrance of Leisure Bar, Dong Huang Baiji slowly turned around and raised her head to look at the signboard. This kind of feeling was as if she had returned to that day, returned to those few days and nights. Today, I will put an end to this resentment. Yua. Today, you must give me an explanation. Pushing open the heavy wooden door, Dong Huang Baiji walked into the bar. The inside of the bar was still the same as before, just that there were a few more paintings. Compared to the past, the business of the bar was a lot more bleak. Dong Huang Baiji sat on the same position as before. She did not order any drinks and just waited quietly. Yua. If you have the guts, then don't come down today. He is still as heartless as before. The Red and Green brothers who were on duty also saw Dong Huang Baiji. I have no choice but to look. There is only a single customer in the entire bar. This is too miserable. Big brother, this woman is as beautiful as the lady boss. Little brother Red said in a low voice. Big brother Green nodded his head. Although she is as beautiful as the lady boss, her temperament is too arrogant. I still feel that the lady boss is better. She is gentle. Little brother Red let out a sigh. Big brother, do you think that this beauty is here to look for the boss? Because even though I am so far away from her, I can still feel her resentment. Big brother Green wrinkled his brows and observed for a while. If she is really here to look for the boss, then the boss is finished. What are you two talking about? What boss is finished? Wei Chang came out from the back of the bar after changing his clothes. Big brother Green pointed at Dong Huang Baiji. There is a woman here, the very beautiful kind. Chapter 210. The Green and Red brothers looked at each other in disbelief. Could it be that they were really here to look for the boss? Oh my God, the boss was too amazing. He already had such a beautiful lady boss, and now he had another one. Moreover, it was the super arrogant version of the lady boss. Amazing. Just watch. Don't act rashly. Wei Chang said solemnly. It seemed that this was the truth. Ali was the child of this woman. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come here. But this was too fast. Ali had just arrived in the morning, and it was only nightfall when her mother came to find her. Dong Huang Baiji had already been looking for her daughter for more than 10 days. Furthermore, the reason why she came here was not only to look for her daughter, but also to settle old scores with Yihua. Right now, Wei Chang was just like an ant on a hot pot. If the madam were to know about this matter, she would definitely fall out with his honor again. His honor's temper isn't that good. When the time comes, his honor won't be able to control himself. No. I still have to call Lai Gu over to suppress the situation. Don't let his honor go berserk. If not, everyone would be out of luck. Thinking of here, Wei Chang immediately contacted Lai Gu. Right now, Lai Gu was currently enjoying the delicacies made by his 3 wives. When he heard what Wei Chang said, the food in his mouth sprayed out and he immediately rushed over. What's going on? What's going on? Lai Gu secretly looked over. At this moment, the feeling of the scene was very strong. For heads stretched out, arranged vertically. Looking at Dong Huang Baiji, Lai Gu swallowed his saliva. Back then, I was lying in my bedroom and saw His Honor bringing Dong Huang Baiji into my room. I didn't expect that after 3 years, this woman had become more and more arrogant. His Honor's eyesight is truly sinister. The women that he finds are all different from the masses. Retracting his head, Lai Gu asked nervously, "What should we do?" "How would I know what to do?" Wei Chang said in frustration. The two of them suddenly looked at the Green and Red brothers. The Green and Red brothers were startled. "Don't look at us like that, I don't even know them." At this time, Tang Wei also changed her clothes and walked over. She asked curiously, "What happened to you guys? What are you all standing here for?" "Xiao Tang, you can go back first today." Wei Chang decided to coax Tang Wei back. Who knows what will happen if His Honor gets angry? Tang Wei was very puzzled, but when she saw Uncle Wei and Lai Gu's sunken face, she knew that something bad must have happened. "Alright, I'll go back first. Uncle Wei, if there's any situation, just give me a call, don't make me worry." Tang Wei was still very obedient. She knew that there were some things that she shouldn't participate in. Wei Chang nodded. Lai Gu's brows were tightly wrinkled, and after a while, he said, "Let's tie her up." "Are you crazy? She is Little Overlord's mother. We all have to call her Madam now. Do you want to offend your superiors?" Wei Chang coldly shouted. Lai Gu scratched onto his hair and said gloomily, "Then, what do you think we should do? His Honor is really something. Why didn't he wear a condom? Gluttonous monster, you must remember to wear a condom." Wei Chang touched the condom in his pocket and sighed. He had always been prepared, but he never had the chance to use it. "How about this, I'll go and probe first. Maybe it's not what we think," Wei Chang said in a low voice, even though he didn't believe his own words. Lai Gu nodded his head. "This is the only way." Wei Chang tidied up his clothes, then walked straight towards Dong Huang Baiji. When Dong Huang Baiji saw Wei Chang walking over, there was not much expression on her face. "It's still this man. Madam, would you like something to drink?" Wei Chang squeezed out a smile. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, "What? Pretending not to know me? Oh, so it's you. I'm getting old and my memory is getting worse." Although Wei Chang's performance was a little exaggerated, his words were exquisite and there were no loopholes. Dong Huang Baiji looked at Wei Chang and said, "You're still the same." "Yes, madam, you are becoming more and more beautiful." He remembered that 3 years ago, this security guard was not so talkative. It seemed that 3 years was enough to change a person. Seeing that Dong Huang Baiji did not speak anymore, Wei Chang asked with a smile, "May I ask why you came here this time?" "Our goals are the same." "It's over." Wei Chang's heart sunk. As expected, they are here to look for His Honor. Dong Huang Baiji continued, "You go and tell him. He could choose not to come down. But I will burn this bar down." Damn, this madam's temper is much better than Madame Qin Yu's, burning things for no reason at all. Did these chairs and tables offend you? Indeed, Dong Huang Baiji felt that everything here was an eyesore. Wei Chang walked back and shook his head towards Lai Gu. Lai Gu heaved a heavy sigh. Right now, the Green and Red brothers' brains were in a state of blank out. "Your Honor? Madam? Little Sovereign? Ali's mother?" The amount of information was too much. The woman outside was Ali's mother, and the boss was Ali's father, but Ali's father had another woman. Were they trying to catch a mistress? Second floor. Dong Huang Li rubbed onto her round belly and said, "Uncle, Ali is so full." Yihua pinched onto his daughter's little nose and said with a smile, "Who asked Ali to eat so much?" "It's delicious." Dong Huang Li was enjoying Yihua's caress very much. It was fortunate that Dong Huang Baiji didn't immediately rush over. If not, if she were to see how happy this family was, she would definitely run away even faster than Yihua. While I am worrying about all kinds of things in Voidless Realm, the two of you are eating and drinking to your heart's content and laughing happily here. Have you ever thought about the feelings of others? Fortunately, all of this didn't happen. Yihua could be considered to be quite lucky. Just when Yihua wanted to say something to Qinya, he received a message from Wei Chang in his mind, and his brows immediately wrinkled. "Your Honor, something big has happened." "Wei Chang, What did I teach you? Don't panic in the face of danger. No matter how big the matter is, I am here. Your Honor. This was no ordinary matter. That woman came. After hearing that, Yihua went into a daze. This surprise came too quickly, right? What the fuck? I am panicking right now. She came so fast. Yihua, what happened to you? Are you feeling unwell? Qinya asked with concern. Yihua was still fine just a moment ago, and yet, he suddenly changed. Yihua revealed out a smile that was even uglier than crying. I'm fine, I just recalled an unhappy matter. Uncle Yi, Ali will dance for you, then you will be happy. Qin Yutong laughed. Wow, Ali knows how to dance. And I often dance for Mother to see and make Mother happy. After speaking, Dong Huangli walked to the side. The so-called dance that Dong Huangli was talking about was just twisting her small body. However, it was still quite decent, and everyone who saw it couldn't help but laugh. Just that, Yihua didn't have the slightest bit of mood right now. Originally, I wanted to let Qinya and Ali interact with each other for a period of time to nurture their relationship. Although I guessed that Ali might come, I didn't expect that she would come so quickly. Qinya, bring Ali to wash her face, there are oil stains on the corner of her mouth. Yihua said faintly. He decided to send Qinya away first, then go and meet Ali by himself. Qinya was completely unaware that a woman had come to look for her downstairs. With a smile on her face, she carried Ali. Ali, let's go and wash our face. Ha, there are oil stains on Aunt Qing's mouth too. Poof, Qinya directly kissed Dong Huangli. Not to be outdone, Dong Huangli kissed onto Qinya's cheek, then laughed loudly. After the two left, Yihua stood up and said gravely, I'm going down to smoke a cigarette. Qin Yutong sensed that something was wrong with her brother-in-law. Meanwhile, Yihua gave Yi Zizi an order to stop Qinya from going downstairs. Chapter 211. Dong Huang Baiji closed her beautiful eyes and waited quietly. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps came from the staircase. Of course, he would not forget this voice. That night, he also came down like this and directly walked up to him to invite him. He was so drunk that he actually fell for this bastard's trick. But he came down. He really came down. Dong Huang Baiji suddenly became nervous. Just what is this damnable man trying to do? If you have the ability, then don't come down. Just as heartless as before. Yihua's gaze was deep as he stared at the back figure that was not far away from him. It was exactly the same as back then. Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up. Yihua wasn't in a hurry to meet with Qinya, and he was currently worried about Qinya. When did I become so timid? I'm almost not like myself anymore. In any case, I'm going to meet her sooner or later. Don't tell me that I'm going to hide this woman away. Since she has the fortune to be pregnant with my bloodline, I will reluctantly accept it. I will talk to Qinya about it when the time comes. Wei Chang and Lai Gu, as well as the Green and Red brothers, were hiding at the side and secretly watching. Wei Chang and Lai Gu were also feeling extremely nervous in their hearts. Who exactly is the mistress? While smoking, Yihua slowly walked forward, then sat down and looked at the woman in front of him. She had changed. Compared to 3 years ago, she had become even more mature and arrogant. Fortunately, she had changed into the type that his honor liked, or else it would be really hard for him to accept her. Dong Huang Baiji was also sizing up the man who she had not seen for 3 years. He did not change at all, there was not a single expression on his face, and when he looked at everyone, it was as if he was looking at an ant. Furthermore, he still loves to smoke. It was this man who wanted her for an entire night. She did not rest for an entire night. After she fainted, she was woken up by him again. It was an endless cycle. Even when she woke up in the morning, he did not care for her at all. He even said that he did not want to see her again. He did not even say his name. Yihua, I trust you have been well since we last met. Dong Huang Baiji said coldly. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. How do you know my name? Suddenly, he thought of the hot pot restaurant. Could it be that she was secretly spying on him? Thinking about it, there was really such a possibility. Ali appeared yesterday, and she arrived today. However, Why did she want to change the shop assistant? It was an unnecessary move. Dong Huang Baiji snorted, "In actuality, I don't want to know your name, just hearing it makes me uncomfortable." Look, how could such a woman not be trained? Even Chinya wasn't as arrogant as her back then. However, when he thought about how she was the child's mother and how she had been wandering outside for 3 years, even if she didn't make any contributions, she had worked hard. He didn't want to lecture her now. There would be opportunities in the future to change her. "I also know the reason why you came here," Yi Hua said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji laughed lightly, and in an instant, she looked incredibly beautiful. "Tell me, why did I come here? I also know that you have suffered. Since you are here, it means that you have not forgotten me. In that case, I will let bygones be bygones. From now on, be my woman." The mouths of the 4 people who were hiding at the back were shaped into an O shape. There's nothing wrong with what His Honor said, especially that last sentence. From now on, just be my woman. Too domineering. Too manly. Any woman would have to submit to these words. Wei Chang and Big Brother Green immediately took out a small notebook and wrote it down. It would definitely be useful in the future. Ha, ha. Dong Huang Baiji laughed out loud, as if she had heard the funniest thing in the world. He is actually willing to let bygones be bygones. How dare you say this empress came for him? He even wants this empress to be his woman. I didn't expect that he is still so narcissistic, to think that he is the only man left in the world. But why didn't you say such words back then? Perhaps, our family of 3 wouldn't have been separated then. What are you laughing at? Yi Hua asked coldly. Dong Huang Baiji kept away her smile and said coldly, "I'm laughing at your stupidity." Immediately, a fierce aura erupted out from Yi Hua's body. "Don't think that you are my woman. You can talk back to me." There was a difference between Dong Huang Baiji and Chinya. Chinya was unable to resist, but Dong Huang Baiji was able to resist. A fierce aura erupted out from Dong Huang Baiji's body, and the 2 auras collided violently, causing all of the chairs in the surroundings to be blown away. Wei Chang felt his heart aching. "When the time comes, I will have to clean up the place myself." "Your woman? Yi Hua, your tone is still as big as before," Dong Huang Baiji shouted out. At the same time, she was also very surprised at Yi Hua's strength. To actually be on par with me. Yi Hua was also rather surprised. This woman's strength is not bad. No wonder she is so rude and unreasonable. It's a pity that you don't know anything about my strength. You are still as arrogant as before. What are you 2 doing? A voice rang out from the staircase, causing Yi Hua's heart to sink. Meanwhile, Dong Huang Baiji turned her head around and took a look. As expected, this woman matches my taste. However, what I feel even more in my heart is unconvinced. Chinya had just heard some noises coming from downstairs, and while ignoring Yi Zizi's obstruction, she walked down the stairs. Chinya saw Yi Hua talking to a woman, and that woman turned her head around and took a look at me. Why is she unconvinced? Chinya was a little confused. However, this woman is indeed beautiful. This fellow wouldn't be doing that again, right? Bastard. When the 4 people who were hiding at the side saw Chinya coming down the stairs, they immediately held their breaths. Lai Gu was nervous to the point that he pinched onto Little Brother Red's ear, while Little Brother Red was in pain to the point that he grabbed onto Big Brother Green's thigh, and Big Brother Green was in pain to the point that he covered onto his mouth. Wei Chang looked at the situation in front of him and thought to himself, "I'm finished." 2 madams colliding into each other. This is bad. Chinya took a glare at her husband. You are already a man with a wife, and yet, you are still fooling around in your own shop. Are you tired of living? Be careful that you don't get spanked when we go back. With a smile on her face, Chinya walked to the side and sat down, then said to Dong Huang Baiji, "I'm sorry, he just likes to mess around, please don't mind him." Dong Huang Baiji looked towards Yi Hua, seemingly asking, "She doesn't know of my existence?" Right now, the situation was very clear. Dong Huang Baiji laughed. She was laughing at herself for being stupid. Then, she said to Chinya, "Have you been deceived by him before?" Chinya was a little stupefied. She took a look at Yi Hua and saw that his expression wasn't very good. He is my husband, may I ask what's the matter? Chinya was still very polite. I feel that there is something wrong with the two of them, and it isn't like what I thought it to be. Dong Huang Baiji smiled and shook her head. You two got married? Chinya had already developed hostility. This woman is coming at me menacingly, I can't be afraid. Dong Huang Baiji asked herself, I am not inferior to her in any way, why did you give up on me and choose her? Let me guess how the two of you met. Enough! Yi Hua shouted out gravely. Chinya gradually became serious. There is a problem here, there is something wrong with Yi Hua's expression. Yi Hua, I want to hear it. Chinya said gravely. Yi Hua knew that it would be like this. Taking out a stick of cigarette, Yi Hua lit it up. I, the Supreme Overlord, was actually forced into a terrible situation by two women. If this were to be spread out, where would I put my face? Chapter 212. How did you know? Chinya's expression became grave. This woman is not simple. Let me finish speaking first. After pausing for a moment, Dong Huang Baiji continued, that day, your mood was definitely not good, am I right? Chinya's expression changed slightly, then nodded her head. After that, he appeared and told you some crooked reasoning, and you followed him up the stairs muddle-headedly. As for what happened after that, I don't think I need to say any more, right? Hearing till here, Chinya's expression changed greatly. She immediately looked towards Yi Hua, as if she was saying, how did she know everything? Yi Hua smoked his cigarette and did not reply. His expression did not look good. He wanted to refute, but he was powerless to refute. Because everything that she said was correct, other than that crooked reasoning, it was obviously the correct reasoning. Furthermore, you all did it willingly. When did I force you? Did I place a knife on your neck, or was I going to exterminate your entire family? But no matter how she argued, what she said was true. Seeing that Yi Hua did not reply, Chinya asked with a sunken face, how did you know? 'Cause I am the same as you, I was also tricked by him to go upstairs. Dong Huang Baiji said coldly, but her gaze was fixedly staring at Yi Hua, this heartless man. Chinya took in a breath of cold air. Her brain was buzzing, and she immediately felt that the world was spinning. After a long time, Chinya mumbled towards Yi Hua, is what she said true? Yi Hua took a puff of his cigarette, then nodded his head and said, she is the first woman that I told you about. Chinya found it hard to believe. Back then, Yi Hua indeed told me that there was another woman before me, but I didn't expect that it was her. But I am Yi Hua's legal wife. You only had a one-night stand with my man. Although Chinya thought that way, she still felt uncomfortable in her heart. What exactly do you mean? Chinya questioned Dong Huang Baiji. Since she is Yi Hua's past lover, then I shall just get rid of her. Dong Huang Baiji appeared to be much calmer. After all, when she heard that Yi Hua had a wife, she had already calmed down. Wait, I haven't finished speaking. This was a contest between two intelligent women. Although Chinya didn't possess powerful strength, right now, her imposing manner wasn't any weaker than Dong Huang Baiji's. Right now, Chinya was giving off the impression that no one should even think about snatching away my husband. Say it. I want to hear what nonsense you can come up with. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, Chinya, don't be nervous, the reason why I came here today is not because of you. If it was possible, I actually didn't want to come here. Right now, Chinya was even more puzzled. This woman really doesn't play her cards according to the routine, causing me to be unable to make a move. Also, how did she know his name? Alright, back to business. After that night, the two of you didn't contact each other until you found out that you were pregnant. That's when you came to find him. Dong Huang Baiji's words caused Chinya to be shocked once again, and her face was filled with disbelief. Dong Huang Baiji knows everything? Was he being monitored? In actuality, what I want to know is, how many days did you wait for him before he went downstairs? Dong Huang Baiji asked the question that she was most concerned about. Recently his daughter had gone missing. Other than worrying about his daughter's safety, he was also troubled by this problem. If he didn't get to the bottom of it, he wouldn't be able to die in peace. Chinya didn't understand why Dong Huang Baiji would ask this question, But she still said, 3 days. Hearing Qin Ya's reply, Dong Huang Baiji suddenly laughed miserably. 3 days? He only waited for 3 days. Yihua, why are you so cruel to me, but so doting on her? I, Dong Huang Baiji, refuse to accept this. Are you done laughing? Yihua shouted gravely. This woman really needs to be taught a lesson. Look at how she is acting, how improper. Dong Huang Baiji didn't pay attention to Yihua and continued, Qin Ya, do you know how many days I waited for him? Qin Ya shook her head blankly. They actually still have more to say. I waited for him for half a month. Half a month. And I was even chased out every night. He just sat upstairs, not caring about me at all. Do you know how I felt back then? Did I want to die? Dong Huang Baiji was no longer able to suppress the torment in her heart and roared out. At this moment, she wasn't an empress, and she wasn't a mother either. She was just a woman who was abandoned by a cruel man. Qin Ya didn't expect such a situation, because she never heard from Yihua that this woman came to look for him. And Yihua only found out from Wei Chang recently that this woman came to look for him. Back then, his emotions weren't very stable, which was why he didn't meet with her. Dong Huang Baiji could be seen suddenly standing up, pointing at Yihua and shouting out, Yihua, let me ask you, why did you go downstairs 3 days after she was pregnant? You ignored my pregnancy. But Yihua didn't expect that this woman would have such a huge grievance. This was something that was unexpected, but as my woman, can't you speak properly with this kind of attitude? Yihua's temper was also starting to get a bit out of control. Can you speak properly? Yihua said coldly. I can't. Dong Huang Baiji was an empress, and she was worshipped by people every day, thus, her aura was not ordinary. Right now, Qin Ya was stupefied. She was pregnant just like me? 3 years ago? The child is probably already 3 years old, right? Right now, Qin Ya completely didn't know what to do. The expressions of the 4 people who were hiding at the side and peeking at the scene were complicated. Little brother Red took a tissue and wiped his snot. So pitiful, too pitiful, it isn't easy to be a single mother. The boss is simply too cruel, not even willing to meet with a pregnant woman. Big brother Green sighed. My little brother was raised by his mother, and he has never even seen what his father looks like. What a pitiful child. Hey, why didn't you tell His Honor about such a thing earlier? Lai Gu pulled onto Wei Chang's sleeve and had a very curious look on his face. Wei Chang said helplessly, back then, His Honor was very unstable during those few days. It's not like you don't know about it. I didn't even have the chance to report it to His Honor, and His Honor chased me away. Now that you mentioned it, His Honor seemed to be unstable during that period of time. I remember now. Wei Chang asked gravely, what did you remember? During those few days, His Honor was watching Calabash Brothers save Grandpa. It seems that after the internet connection was disconnected for half a day, His Honor was unable to control his emotions, and it was very easy for him to get angry. Lai Gu recalled for a while. That day, when I was lying beside His Honor, I even had a dream, and there were a lot of delicious food. Wei Chang held onto his forehead. I didn't expect that because the internet connection was disconnected, causing His Honor to not be able to watch Calabash Brothers save Grandpa, which led to today's disaster. My God! Meanwhile, at the entrance of the staircase, Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi were currently eavesdropping on His Honor. Yi Zizi had a worried look on her face, and she hoped that His Honor would be able to tide through this crisis. Qin Yutong was also extremely shocked. As expected, brother-in-law has a woman outside. Then, could Ali be that woman? Aunt Qing, what are you two doing? Dong Huangli had just gone to change into a new set of clothes. The dress was rather hard to wear, so it took a bit of time for her to change. Seeing that Aunt Qing did not have any reaction, Dong Huangli skipped down the stairs. At this moment, only then did Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi react, but it was already too late. Chapter 213. Wei Chang and Lai Gu were already sweating profusely, while Big Brother Green and Little Brother Red had an as expected look on their faces. Qin Yutong's body became unstable, and she immediately rolled down the stairs. When she lost her balance, she pulled Yi Zizi along with her, and in the end, the two of them rolled down the stairs with a stupefied look on their faces. So awkward, we were discovered eavesdropping. Should we hide and continue eavesdropping? When Donghuang Baiji heard this familiar voice, hot tears immediately flowed down from her eyes. Ah Li, mother. Although Donghuang Li was angry at her mother, she still missed her mother after not seeing her for more than 10 days. Donghuang Li could be seen pouncing into her mother's embrace, then said with a childish voice, "Mother, Ali misses you." While hugging onto her daughter, Donghuang Baiji's heart ached. "Ali, mother has let you down." Ali doesn't blame mother, don't cry. Donghuang Li shouted out sweetly, then stretched out her little hand to wipe off her mother's tears. Right now, Qingya's face was pale, as if she had lost her soul. "Ali's mother is actually me." Then, Yihua, he is Ali's father. No wonder he came back so hurriedly. No wonder he is so protective of Ali. So he already knew that Ali is my child. Qingya's heart was crushed by Yihua's lies, and even breathing became incomparably difficult. The current Yihua looks so unfamiliar to me. Just a few hours ago, I even asked him if he lied to me, and he said that he didn't. Then what is he doing now? Yihua, I am also a human, I have my own pride, why did you lie to me? Donghuang Li still didn't know what the current situation was. She held onto her mother's hand and said with a smile, "Mother, this is Aunt Qing, she treats Ali very well. Also, this is Uncle Yi, he even treated Ali to a big meal today. There are also Uncle Green and Uncle Red." Big Brother Green and Little Brother Red, who were hiding at the side, immediately shrunk back. "Little ancestor, this isn't the time to talk about this. Can't you see that your daddy is panicking right now? Ali, come home with mother." Right now, Donghuang Baiji didn't want to think about anything else. She just wanted to go home with her daughter and watch her grow up. Donghuang Li seemed to be a bit scared as she said in a low voice, "Mother, Ali wants to play with Uncle Yi." "Your Uncle Yi is not a good person, Ali, don't be deceived by him." Hearing that her daughter was actually getting so close to Yihua, Donghuang Baiji's arrogance rose once again. This time, Yihua exploded. With a slap onto the table, the entire table immediately turned into dust. What is your name?" Yihua didn't even know how to start scolding. The child is already so big, and yet, he actually doesn't even know what this woman's name is. Donghuang Li hurriedly said, "Uncle Yi, mother didn't do it on purpose. Also, mother's name is Baiji, her surname is the same as Ali's." "Please don't speak," Donghuang Baiji said gravely. Immediately, little Ali shrunk his head. Right now, Yihua finally knew the other party's name. "Donghuang Baiji, right? Ali is my bloodline. You don't have the qualifications to take her away." Yihua's tone was filled with an unquestionable tone, and this caused Qingya, who was silent at the side, to feel even more heartbroken. She didn't expect that the man she found was the same as her father. Donghuang Baiji was stupefied, and she asked curiously, "Yihua, now you know that you want a child. What did you do back then? Do you even have the qualifications to be Ali's father?" "If I don't have the qualifications, who the hell does?" Yihua couldn't help but curse out. His voice was so loud that it caused the entire bar to tremble slightly. This meant that the current Yihua had somewhat stabilized. Donghuang Li, who was being carried in Yihua's embrace, felt dizzy. "Uncle Yi seems to have become my father." "Mother, didn't you say that father died? Why did he come back to life?" Donghuang Li asked curiously with her eyes opened wide. Thinking about it, Yihua became angry. "Donghuang Baiji, you actually cursed me to die. The moment you abandoned me, to me, you were already dead." Donghuang Baiji shouted out coldly. "Daddy, hug." Donghuang Li didn't feel sad at all. On the contrary, she seemed to be very happy. "To begin with, I liked Uncle Yi a lot, and now that Uncle Yi has become a daddy, he will be able to love me for the rest of my life." However, Donghuang Baiji felt very uncomfortable when she heard Donghuang Baiji's words. She said lightly, "Ali, be obedient and listen to mother. Let's leave this place, mother will always accompany Ali, all right?" "No, I want daddy." Upon hearing that she was going to leave her daddy, Donghuang Li became anxious. Although Dong Huang Baiji was hugging onto Dong Huang Li's bosom, Dong Huang Li's hands were stretched towards Yihua. The power of bloodline was incomparable. He had raised it for almost 3 years, but it could not even compare to a few days. Dong Huang Baiji was unable to imagine that her daughter would be so disobedient. Then, Dong Huang Li raised her hand and slapped onto Dong Huang Li's butt. Dong Huang Li immediately started crying. Yihua was enraged. "My daughter is not someone that you can hit. I can't even bear to beat him up." A surge of righteous energy rushed towards Dong Huang Baiji, causing the latter's expression to change. With a slight movement of her hand, a golden barrier appeared in front of her. However, the daughter that was in Yihua's embrace suddenly disappeared, and Yihua, who was not far away, could be seen hugging onto his daughter. This made Dong Huang Baiji extremely shocked. How could the golden barrier be able to withstand Yihua's aura? Immediately, the golden barrier broke apart and rushed towards Dong Huang Baiji. Dong Huang Baiji was greatly startled. She didn't expect that this man would be so powerful. Bang! But he still couldn't block it. His entire body flew backward, smashing into the bar counter and leaving a dent. Everyone was dumbfounded. His honor actually hit a woman. Furthermore, the woman that he hit is his child's mother. If news of this were to spread out, it would definitely become a scandal. His honor is too awesome, even I don't dare to hit my wife like this. Lai Gu sighed. In the future, I must learn from his honor's move. If someone is disobedient, I will hit them until they are obedient. Big Brother Green said in a low voice, "That's right, all of the men in our village are afraid of their wives. Boss is too awesome, I am waiting for my idol." "That's right, Big Brother. I have decided. In the future, I must learn from boss and try to hit my wife as soon as possible." "Not bad, you comprehend very quickly." Big Brother Green patted onto his little brother's shoulder. Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi, who were at the side, were also extremely shocked, especially Qin Yutong, who covered her mouth with both of her hands. "My God, brother-in-law actually hit his wife, so scary. My God, Big Brother is too inhumane." Yihua looked towards Dong Huang Baiji coldly, then consoled Dong Huang Li, who was in his embrace. "Ah Li, don't cry. Woo, Daddy, don't hit Mommy, domestic violence. A solid hammer." Seeing how wrong the little fellow was, Yihua hurriedly coaxed, all right, Daddy won't hit Mommy, Ah Li, don't cry, okay." Dong Huang Baiji's expression was gloomy as she slowly walked out of the room. She was completely fine, not even a speck of dust could be seen on her body. In actuality, Yihua was still steady when he hit Dong Huang Baiji. He was only teaching her a lesson. If not, how could he have been able to hit Dong Huang Baiji so easily? Chapter 214. Mama, don't hit Papa, or Ali will have no Papa again. Without waiting for Dong Huang Baiji to act, Dong Huang Li started crying loudly. No matter how Yihua coaxed her, it was useless. Ali is just a jinx. No matter where he goes, he will make others angry. No matter where he goes, he will bring harm to others. What? Ali looked up to the sky and cried, as if everyone in the world hated her. Her cries were heartbreaking. Dong Huang Baiji gradually returned to normal. There was nothing more important than having a child. Just when Dong Huang Baiji was about to coax her daughter, Dong Huang Li's petite body immediately emitted out an astonishing bloodline fluctuation, and along with the sound of crying, her bloodline was about to erupt. Yihua was greatly startled. "I didn't expect that the bloodline in my daughter's body would go out of control." Yihua immediately suppressed it. If it were to explode, I reckon that the entire Long and city would be leveled to the ground. In the future, I still have to teach Ali how to control the power of my bloodline. Caressing his daughter, who was in deep sleep, Yihua lightly wiped away the tears at the corner of his eyes. "What did you do to my daughter?" Dong Huang Baiji thought that Yihua did something bad to her daughter, and immediately, a sharp sword appeared in her hand. "This woman actually dared to use her sword against me." His left hand turned into a palm, and a formless power controlled Dong Huang Baiji in the sky. Soon after, Dong Huang Baiji clenched his fist. Dong Huang Baiji's face was deathly pale as she lightly landed onto the ground. The spiritual energy within her body was actually sealed. How did he do it? Yi Hua carried on to Ali, who was in deep sleep, and said coldly, "Seeing that you are Ali's mother, I will let you off this time. But from now on, do your part, or don't blame me for teaching you a lesson again." "You bastard!" The pale and powerless Dong Huang Baiji stretched out her fist and punched towards Yi Hua. With a slight dodge, Dong Huang Baiji missed her target and knocked onto the table. Dong Huang Baiji tightly wrinkled her brows. "So painful." Qinya stood up, did not cry nor did she make a fuss, and walked towards the stairs. Qin Yutong hurriedly followed behind her big sister. Don't let her big sister do anything stupid. Seeing Qinya like this, Yi Hua had no choice but to say, "Wei Chang, leisure bar will be temporarily closed for this period of time." With a wave of his hand, a blue halo enveloped the entire bar, and it was exactly the same move that he used against Qinya back then. Wei Chang said solemnly, "Yes, boss." Looking at her daughter being carried up the stairs by Yi Hua, Dong Huang Baiji ignored the pain on her body and rushed towards Yi Hua. "You damned bastard, return my daughter to me." Just that, before he could even touch Yi Hua's body, he crashed into the air wall and fell onto the ground. Yi Hua turned his head around and said faintly, "Dong Huang Baiji, tonight, you should rest downstairs and reflect on how to be a good mother, how to be a virtuous wife. Look at your attitude and actions tonight. You've made me lose face." Wei Chang and Big Brother Green started taking notes. There's nothing wrong with what His Honor said, it's domineering. This was how a man should be. Big Brother Green had never seen such an awesome man before. He could even teach such a beautiful woman a lesson. As expected of his boss. Yi Zizi looked at Madame Dong Huang Baiji with a smile. "Your wonderful life has just begun, Yi Hua. You bastard, return Ali to me." Dong Huang Baiji stood up once again and chased after Yi Hua. However, Dong Huang Baiji was blocked by an air wall. Although Leisure Bar was under martial law, Yi Hua intentionally gave Dong Huang Baiji a small cell and locked her in the lounge of Leisure Bar. While pounding on the invisible wall, Dong Huang Baiji couldn't help but cry. She slowly slid down from the wall and sat on the ground powerlessly. Dong Huang Baiji mumbled, "Return Ali to me, return Ali to me." Wei Chang and Lai Gu sighed. "You shouldn't have touched His Honor's angry face. Aren't you just looking for trouble? It's good that you are fine, I will go back first." Lai Gu let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Madame Qinya didn't get angry. If not, it would be even more difficult to clean up the mess. Wei Chang was a bit worried about Madame Qinya's situation. Just now, Madame Qinya did not say anything, but it was precisely because of this that Madame Qinya was not willing to say anything. From this, it could be seen that His Honor had deeply hurt Madame Qinya. However, from His Honor's point of view, there was nothing wrong with what he did. It was all the fault of human nature, and it had to take the blame. Why are you two still standing there? Do you want to get involved in the boss's family affairs? The Green and Red brothers hurriedly shook their heads. How would they dare to do that? Go back with me then. Wei Chang paused for a moment, then took a look at Dong Huang Baiji, who was sitting on the ground. Seems like His Honor is planning to do a long-term training job. As a subordinate, it is better for me not to do this kind of thing. After finished speaking, Wei Chang brought the two brothers and left, returning back to the rented house. Tang Wei nearly jumped up from her seat. Opportunities are already few to begin with, and you even brought along 2 light bulbs, and it's even a traffic light. Uncle Wei, do you really want to do that with me or not? I am so angry. On the other side, Yi Hua carried Dong Huang Li and stood outside of the bedroom, thinking about how to deal with Qinya. I reckon that Qinya is currently packing up her clothes. After all, I didn't hear any sounds of things being smashed. Brother-in-law, you are finished. Qin Yutong walked over quietly and said unhappily. How is your big sister? Yi Hua asked in a low voice. Qin Yutong shook her head. She is very abnormal. I have never seen big sister like this before. Brother-in-law, you take care of yourself, I'm going to go and play games. What kind of F** king situation is this? And you are still thinking about playing games, aren't you going to help me think of a way? Taking a deep breath, Yihua opened the door and entered the bedroom. Yihua immediately froze. The bedroom was very clean, and there was no suitcase to be found either. Only the light in the bathroom was still on. For Chinya to still have the mood to take a bath, it seems like things are going to be settled. Chinya is still the sensible one. She knows how to think from my point of view. Unlike that Donghuang Baiji who doesn't have any manners at all, she is too lacking. My daughter has already been snatched away, what kind of manners do I still need? If Yihua were to see how Donghuang Baiji looks like when she is wearing the dragon-patterned purple gown, the supreme overlord, like this kind of arrogant woman. Lightly placing his daughter onto the bed, Yihua revealed out a smile that a father should have. This little fellow's nose is so cute. Bang. The bathroom door was opened, and Yihua turned his head around, then said with a light smile, "Chinya, your performance today made me rather surprised." After speaking, Yihua wanted to hug onto Chinya. "Yihua." Chinya slightly dodged away and said lightly, "Don't worry, I won't leave." Chinya's tone was very indifferent, and this caused Yihua to feel that the situation wasn't good. Yihua held onto Chinya's hand and said slowly, "Of course you won't leave." This time, Chinya didn't dodge away from Yihua's hand and said, "Yihua, do you still remember the promise that we made back then?" Yihua's hand stopped, then slowly raised his head and looked at Chinya. "What do you mean by this?" "You helped me get rid of the engagement, and I will fulfill my promise. How about this? I don't owe you anything, and you don't owe me anything either." Yihua suddenly stood up and shouted out gravely, "Are you crazy? What do you mean by owe me anything? Could it be that you are still thinking about that bullshit promise right now? I only want you." Chapter 215. Yihua's chest heaved up and down violently as he let go of Chinya's hand, then said coldly, "Even if you don't want it, you have to. In the future, I will go to your office to rest. I won't disturb your family reunion. Chinya, can't you be a little more rational?" Chinya turned around with a ferocious expression and shouted in a low voice, "I'm very rational right now. If I wasn't rational, I would have already gone mad." Yihua remained silent as he watched Chinya pick up the quilt and walk towards the office. "Bang. You even used quite a bit of strength to close the door. If you break the door, you won't be able to pay for it in your entire life. These two women, not a single one of them can make me worry, and each one is more awesome than the other. You brought this upon yourselves. I, the Supreme Overlord, can only act forcefully and lock you up for life. Don't even think about going anywhere." Looking at his daughter who was lying on the bed, Yihua stretched out his hand and lightly stroked onto Donghuang Li's forehead. "My daughter is still the most obedient." Bang, bang, bang. Sounds of smashing rang out from downstairs, and Yihua's expression became serious. This woman is starting to go crazy too. She pulled out a napkin, crumpled it into a ball, and stuffed it into her daughter's ear so she wouldn't be woken up by her crazy mother. Walking out of the bedroom, Yihua lit up a cigarette, then slowly walked downstairs. Donghuang Baiji could be seen holding onto a chair and smashing it all over the place, causing the entire lounge to be in a complete mess. If Donghuang Baiji was given a lighter, she would be able to light up this entire bar. While smoking the cigarette, Yihua silently looked at Donghuang Baiji who was randomly smashing the cigarette. "After all, I am feeling very uncomfortable in my heart, and I need to vent it out properly." "You damned bastard." When Donghuang Baiji saw that Yihua had arrived, she picked up the chair and ran towards Yihua, then ruthlessly smashed it towards Yihua. Unfortunately, she was blocked by the air wall. Yihua knew that she would be blocked by the air wall, and thus, he stood beside the air wall, as if he was visiting a prisoner. "It has been a few minutes since I closed the bar, but it seems like your temper did not change at all." Yihua said faintly, then walked to the side of the shabby bar counter and poured a cup of wine. "Continue, I will watch." While sipping on the wine, Yihua said lightly. Donghuang Baiji placed down the chair that she was holding onto, then asked gravely, "Just what do you want?" "I've already said it. I don't want to repeat myself." Donghuang Baiji shouted out coldly, "I can't do it." I don't expect you to be able to do it right now. Take your time, I have plenty of time. Yi Hua said faintly while fiddling with the wine cup in his hand. Dong Huang Baiji was angered to the point that her entire face turned red. Just by looking at his face, Dong Huang Baiji really wanted to scratch his face. Where's my Ali? Don't worry, I'm sleeping upstairs. Dong Huang Baiji let out a breath of relief. As long as the child is fine, everything is fine. Dong Huang Baiji placed the chair properly and sat opposite of Yi Hua. There was an air wall between the two of them, but from the way they sat, it seemed as if they were discussing a deal. What do you want in order to let me and my child go? Dong Huang Baiji asked gravely. Yi Hua didn't answer this question. Instead, he asked, why did Ali come out alone? Dong Huang Baiji remained silent. I'm asking you a question. Yi Hua slammed onto the table and shouted. Dong Huang Baiji pouted her mouth. What does it have to do with you? Yi Hua was angered to the point of laughing. I have never seen such an irresponsible woman before. What kind of mother are you? If anything were to happen to Ali outside, I would have whipped you to death. If it wasn't for the Green and Red brothers, you wouldn't even know that Ali was sold. Yi Hua began teaching his daughter. I have no choice but to teach her. Look at that, I'm the #1 in the world, look. Dong Huang Baiji originally wanted to retort back, but when she heard that her daughter was sold, she hurriedly asked, What happened to Ali? Everything is fine now, I have already dealt with it. However, have you ever thought about the consequences? It's fine for you to bear grudges against me, but how can you vent it on your child? Have you ever been a good mother for a day? Facing Yi Hua's accusation, Dong Huang Baiji was unable to refute. Because what Yi Hua said was right, I indeed didn't act as a good mother, and I even transferred my resentment onto my child. Have you ever been a good father for a day? At the very least, I did it today. Yi Hua said faintly. Have you ever been a good man? Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette and asked silently, Are you still blaming me for not coming down to see you back then? Dong Huang Baiji could be seen snorting. Back then, you said that I, Yi Hua, would never touch the same woman for a second time. You are a liar. Alright, this is not bad, I got slapped in the face. Seeing that Yi Hua remained silent, Dong Huang Baiji shouted out coldly, Why aren't you speaking? Weren't you very talkative just now? Didn't you have a good time scolding me? I, Yi Hua, will lie to whoever I want to lie to, and I can even take back what I said earlier. I have long wanted to take back what I said earlier, just that I didn't have the chance to do so. I have never seen someone as shameless as you, to actually be able to take back what you said. Dong Huang Baiji was angered to the point where she started laughing. Yi Hua said coldly, I'm shameless? Then why did you come and look for me? Isn't it because you can't forget about me? What is there to be embarrassed about? After all, I am indeed outstanding, and I can understand why you have such thoughts. After hearing what Yi Hua said, Dong Huang Baiji was stupefied. Soon after, she picked up a chair and smashed it onto Yi Hua. Go and die. Who cares about you? I am here to look for my daughter, you shameless bastard. Yi Hua lit up another stick of cigarette, then asked faintly, Do you still remember what you called me on that night 3 years ago? Dong Huang Baiji went into a daze. That night, Yi Hua. I am going to kill you, you bastard. After finished speaking, she became even more ferocious. Standing up, Yi Hua smoked his cigarette and walked towards the second floor. Slowly smash me, when you have thought it through, I will let you go. You can go and die. Hearing Dong Huang Baiji's various curses, Yi Hua felt that the path of disciplining Dong Huang Baiji was still rather long. Arriving in front of the office, Yi Hua tried the door lock, and as expected, the door was locked from the inside. Qinya, you are underestimating me too much. Then, Yi Hua pushed open the door and entered the office. Qinya could be seen curled up on the sofa, and her delicate shoulders were slightly shaking. Qinya was crying. Seeing Qinya like this, Yi Hua felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Just yesterday, she was still acting coquettishly in my embrace, and yet today, walking to the side of the sofa, Yi Hua said faintly, Qinya, I know that you are sad, but I have my own difficulties as well. Qinya did not say anything, and her back was facing Yi Hua. All right, don't be angry, let's go back and sleep. Aren't you unable to sleep if you don't hug something? Yi Hua poked onto Qinya's shoulder probingly. Qinya could be heard sobbing, Yi Hua, I only have one request. Yi Hua felt very comfortable hearing Qinya's words. Yi Hua hurriedly said, don't say one, I will even agree to 100 requests. After the child is born, let me see him once a month. Can you promise me that? Qinya still did not turn her head around, seemingly like she did not want to see Yi Hua, and her tone became even more weak. Yi Hua became silent, then slowly stood up and asked, Qinya, just what is wrong with you? Ali is my child. That Donghuang Baiji can only be my woman. Chapter 216. I, the Supreme Overlord, have already lowered my status to persuade you. Look at those men from the big families, Xiao Yi, Tang Wushuang. All of them have many wives and concubines. I only have 2. Yi Hua was immediately unconvinced. Why is it that other people can have so many of them, and yet I, the Supreme Overlord, only have 2 of them, and yet I end up like this? Qinya snorted coldly, only 2? It seems like you still want to expand your harem. Bullshit. When did I say such a thing? If it wasn't for Ali, you would be the only woman in my life. Qinya still didn't turn her head around. Yi Hua, I don't believe in your nonsense anymore. It's getting late, I want to rest, you can go out first. Yi Hua was very angry. I didn't expect that Qinya would be like this as well. Alright, this is all because of you too. Fine, but let me tell you this, Qinya, don't ever think about leaving me for the rest of your life. After finished speaking, Yi Hua opened the door and left. Yi Hua, you are a bastard. Quiet. Qinya's curses could be heard coming from inside the house, and there were also various kinds of smashing sounds coming from downstairs. Yi Hua let out a deep sigh. Should I go and look for that Xiao Yi and ask him for advice on how to make sure that all of my wives are safe and sound? After thinking about it, Yi Hua decided to forget about it. I, the Supreme Overlord, am such an outstanding man, yet I still have to go and seek help from others. If this matter were to spread out, where would my face be? Right now, I can only take things one step at a time. Arriving at Qing Yutong's room, Yi Hua opened the door and took a look. The back view of an adult and a child was engaged in a heated battle. The sister-in-law was fine too. She wanted to play games instead of the elder sister. Brother-in-law, do you want to play around? Qing Yutong turned her head around and shouted. Yi Hua, who was in a bad mood, walked into the door and turned on a machine. Qing Yutong laughed. Brother-in-law, my big sister isn't easy to deal with, right? Sigh, this time, not only did she ask for a divorce, even the children have been decided by her. Yi Hua said faintly. Yi Zizi smiled and said, eldest Biaoga, eldest cousin-in-law is just jealous. Just coax her a little and she will be fine. Zizi, you're right. My sister is just jealous. The more you coax her, the more pleased she will be. Qing Yutong began the path of selling out her sister. Yutong, tell me about it. If it works, this brother-in-law will reward you. Hearing that there was a reward, Qing Yutong immediately became excited. Brother-in-law, just do this. Ignore my sister for the next few days. Once you've aroused her interest, find an opportunity to spank her. I guarantee it will work. Qing Yutong wanted to drag her big sister into the pit as well. I have been beaten up by Yi Hua quite a few times, and I also want my big sister to be beaten up. Zizi also thinks so. Big cousin, believe us, we are women. Yi Hua nodded his head. Let's start a game first. Although he was playing a game, Yi Hua was still thinking about it. I'll try out my sister-in-law's method first. Perhaps it will really work? After playing for a while, Yi Hua returned to the bedroom and looked at his daughter, who was sleeping soundly on the bed. Only Ali is my little cotton-padded jacket, and the others are all troublesome. After taking a shower, he held his daughter in his arms. Ali, who was sleeping, also hugged her father tightly, and the corners of her mouth curled up into a smile. She even stuck out her little tongue and licked the corner of her mouth, as if she had eaten something good. It would be perfect if Qingye was by Donghuang Baiji's side. As for Donghuang Baiji, if she was able to learn even half of what Qingye was capable of, there would still be a spot for her on this bed. Otherwise, it would be impossible for me to let you get on my bed. Even if you beg me, it would be useless. Early morning. A ray of sunlight passed through the window and shone into the bedroom. Daddy, it's time to wake up. Hearing his daughter's call, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. Why doesn't Ali sleep for a while longer? Ali always wakes up very early because she needs to study. Daddy, don't you need to study? Yihua smiled. Daddy will teach Ali cultivation techniques in the future. Yay, Ali likes Daddy the most. After finished speaking, Ali kissed onto Yihua's cheek, causing Yihua to laugh out loud. This is the feeling of having a bloodline, causing me to feel so happy. Let's go, Daddy will bring Ali to eat Chinese jianbing. Yihua carried his daughter and got off the bed. Dong Huangli was confused. Daddy, what is Chinese jianbing? Ali will know when she sees it later on. However, right now, she needs to brush her teeth and wash her face first. Ali knows how to brush her teeth and wash her face. Daddy, I will help you squeeze some toothpaste. At this moment, Yihua's heart was about to be turned upside down by little Ali. After the father and daughter pair finished washing up, they put on their clothes and walked out of the room. Daddy, I forgot to ask you, where did Mommy go? Dong Huangli was a bit embarrassed. After having a daddy, she nearly forgot about her mommy. Yihua said faintly, your mommy isn't willing to sleep with us, so she went downstairs to sleep. How can mommy be like this? Mommy should be sleeping with daddy. My daughter is still the most sensible. When they walked downstairs, Yihua and Dong Huangli looked at the living room stupidly. Not a single chair in the living room was in good condition, and all of the paintings on the wall were torn and fell onto the ground. If Wei Chang were to see the scene, he would definitely go crazy. After all, those paintings were paintings that Wei Chang had collected for 5 years. Donghuang Baiji could be seen lying on the ground and sleeping. Donghuang Li ran over and pushed her mother. Mommy, wake up! Donghuang Baiji, who was in a daze, opened her eyes and looked at her daughter who was in front of her. Donghuang Baiji immediately hugged her daughter tightly into her embrace. Ali, Mommy, why are you sleeping here? Why aren't you sleeping with Daddy? Donghuang Li asked curiously. Donghuang Baiji looked at her daughter and said tenderly, because Mommy doesn't like Daddy, so we can't sleep together. If the two of you don't sleep together, how did Ali come to be? There was nothing wrong with what Donghuang Baiji said. Even Yihua was amused by what Donghuang Baiji said. Ali, you have to call me mother, you can't call me mommy. No, Ali has to call me mommy. Mommy sounds nice, Donghuang Li said coquettishly, causing Donghuang Baiji to be helpless. Yihua felt that it was about time and shouted out lightly, Ali, Daddy will bring you to eat breakfast. Donghuang Li could be seen running into Yihua's embrace, causing Donghuang Baiji to be stupefied. Even my daughter has defected to the enemy. Mommy, let's go and eat breakfast together. Donghuang Li shouted towards her mother. Donghuang Baiji didn't reply, because she knew that Yihua wouldn't let her off. Let's go together then. Yihua said faintly. After finished speaking, Yihua brought Ali and walked out of the house. Donghuang Baiji touched the air wall, and found that the air wall was gone. Later on, I will carry my daughter and run. However, how many steps can I run? I will still be caught by Yihua. Letting out a sigh, Donghuang Baiji followed after Yihua. At this moment, inside the office on the second floor, Qingye didn't sleep at all. Qingye was currently standing by the window and looking at the blue sky. Suddenly, she saw 3 figures appearing in the alleyway, and hot tears immediately flowed out of her eyes. This liar, big liar. I will never forgive him in this life. Yihua naturally knew that Qingye was looking at them from above. This was also what Qingye's sister-in-law said. If not, why did he call Donghuang Baiji out? To act cool? Chapter 217. Today, the auntie's business was very good. There was even a long queue of more than 10 people. When these 10+ people saw that Yihua was carrying a child, and there was even a woman that was as cold as ice following behind him. Their eyeballs almost popped out. Empress's demeanor was promising. Dong Huangli seemed to be very shy when facing everyone's gaze, and she buried her head into Yi Hua's embrace. Such an action caused everyone to reveal out a smile. Dong Huangli is truly an adorable child. While hugging onto his daughter, Yi Hua stood at the end of the line and waited patiently. Dong Huang Baiji wrinkled her brows. As an empress, when had she ever queued up before, and everyone had to make way for her? Dong Huang Baiji could be seen walking straight towards the front of the group. However, before she even took a single step, Yi Hua said gravely, "What are you doing?" Dong Huang Baiji turned her head around and took a glance at Yi Hua, seemingly as if she was asking, "Do you still need to queue up for such a thing? Come back." Yi Hua said faintly, "This woman really doesn't have any quality at all, and she actually dares to cut the queue. If word of this were to spread out, I, the Supreme Overlord, would be losing face." In actuality, Yi Hua had also tried to cut the queue at the start. As a Supreme Overlord, how could he possibly line up with a bunch of humans? In the end, this auntie didn't give him any face and refused to do it. She had a bad temper. "If it wasn't for the fragrance of your fruit pancake, I would have flipped the stall." Dong Huangli secretly shouted out, "Mommy, quickly come back, don't cut the queue." Dong Huang Baiji felt as if she had just received 100,000 damage. Not only was she taught a lesson by Yi Hua, her skills were inferior to Yi Hua's, and now, even her daughter has started to betray Dong Huang Baiji. Most of the people in the queue were boys, and they were rushing to work. But when they saw such a beauty, not to mention cutting the queue, they would do anything. "Beauty, I know you're in a hurry. I'll give my seat to you." Yes, it's not easy. These men, they can't move their eyes away when they see a beauty. Some girls despise this kind of man. If an ugly girl tried it, it would definitely not be like this. Even Dong Huangli felt embarrassed. "Mommy, quickly come back, we need to follow the order." "Look, even Ali knows about this. What are you standing there foolishly for? Come over." Yi Hua shook his head. Even Qingya wouldn't do such a thing. Dong Huang Baiji's face was red from anger, and in an instant, her beauty was peerless. Even so, she didn't look embarrassed at all. She turned around like an empress with an extraordinary demeanor. Seeing how Dong Huang Baiji was able to act to such an extent, Yi Hua could be said to be convinced. "Look at how you behaved just now, how improper." Yi Hua began to teach Ling Lan. He had to start from the most basic aspect of being a person. Of course, Dong Huangli was going to speak up for her mommy. "Daddy, don't blame mommy. Mommy has always been living alone, and furthermore, she didn't go out at all. It's hard for her to not be sensible." Dong Huang Baiji, Yi Hua caressed onto his daughter's face. "Even Ali is more sensible than mommy, so obedient." Hee, Dong Huang Baiji almost couldn't hold herself back anymore. "This pair of father and daughter are teaming up to bully me, don't you think I'm angry?" If it wasn't for the fact that they were outside, he would have definitely scolded them. Endure it. Maintain the aura of an empress. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, it was finally Yi Hua's turn. The auntie had already seen Yi Hua long ago, and she was just curious as to why there was a little girl and another beautiful woman with him today. Just that, this beautiful woman looked very familiar. 6 fruit jianbing, one of them with eggs and sausages. Yi Hua said faintly while carrying his daughter. "Daddy, Ali also wants eggs and sausages." Right now, Dong Huangli wanted whatever her daddy wanted, and she wanted it as well. Yi Hua smiled faintly. "Is Ali able to eat all of them?" Dong Huangli rubbed onto her stomach, and Ali's stomach is able to contain all of them. "To it is then," Yi Hua said to the auntie. The auntie that made the pancakes cried out in surprise, "I remember now. 3 years ago, you were standing here every morning." Dong Huang Baiji wrinkled her brows and didn't reply. Yi Hua and Dong Huangli immediately looked towards Dong Huang Baiji. "Mommy, were you peeping at Daddy?" Dong Huangli asked naively. Stab, a small knife stabbed onto Dong Huang Baiji's chest. "At the very least, you have been standing here for more than 10 days. The auntie added. Dong Huangli had a surprised look on her face. Wow, so mommy secretly likes daddy. Stab. Another small knife stabbed onto Dong Huang Baiji's chest. Right now, Dong Huang Baiji didn't feel good at all. Back then I was standing here because I was angry. I wasn't secretly in love. Yi Hua rubbed onto the child and said faintly, Ali, it is normal for mommy to have this kind of reaction. After all, daddy is indeed very attractive. And daddy is the most handsome, mommy is even mesmerized by him. Stab, stab. Dong Huang Baiji's heart was stabbed by an invisible knife. Young man, is this your daughter? The auntie asked curiously. Without waiting for Yi Hua to speak, Dong Huangli said with a smile, Hello grandma, my name is Dong Huangli. He is my daddy and she is my mommy. Young man, being fickle isn't a good thing. The auntie started preaching again. Yi Hua was only able to continue listening to the auntie's preaching. Of course, Yi Hua would refute the auntie's preaching. For example, right now, fickle? That doesn't exist. This is my new wife. The other one is currently sleeping at home. If this isn't fickle, then what is it? Who is your new wife? Pay attention to your words. Dong Huang Baiji finally couldn't bear it anymore and spoke out to refute. Dong Huangli clapped her hands and said with a smile, Is mommy going to be a bride? Ali is so happy. Ali, don't speak. Dong Huang Baiji stopped Ali. Dong Huangli pouted her mouth, then replied with an oh, then buried her head into her daddy's bosom pitifully. The auntie sighed, You youngsters, don't let the child bear the responsibility for the mistake. After all, the child is innocent. What the auntie said was reasonable. Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji didn't refute. Little Ali smiled towards the auntie, then hid back into her bosom. After waiting for quite a while, Yi Hua walked back with the piping hot Chinese jianbing, while Ali began eating it. Take it. Yi Hua extended the bag in front of Dong Huang Baiji. I'm not taking it. As my woman, don't you even understand this bit of rules? Yi Hua said gravely. This is too unruly. Sorry, I'm not your woman. Dong Huangli asked curiously, If mommy isn't daddy's woman, then whose woman is mommy? Ali, don't speak. Yi Hua was a lot calmer now, then said faintly, Dong Huang Baiji, you better listen to me as soon as possible. Dong Huangli, who was in Yi Hua's bosom, nodded her head and didn't speak. Wishful thinking. Yi Hua didn't pay attention to Ali. After returning to leisure bar, he once again locked Dong Huang Baiji up, then took the breakfast and went upstairs. 2 of the breakfast were given to Dong Huang Baiji, who was playing games, and the 2 of them still haven't woken up yet. Standing at the entrance of the office, Yi Hua opened the door and entered the office. Qinya could be seen curling up on the sofa just like how she did last night, looking very pitiful. Yi Hua's heart ached when he saw that. It's time to wake up and eat breakfast. Yi Hua shouted lightly. Qinya's voice was still choking with emotions. I don't have any appetite, you can leave. Chapter 218. Get out of here. Qinya roared. Her roar made everyone worried, but also made everyone's heart ache. Yi Hua had no choice but to leave with his brows creased while holding onto the piping hot fruit jianbing in his hand. Walking down the stairs, Dong Huang Baiji and Dong Huangli could be seen sitting together. The 2 of them were chatting and laughing. You feed me, I feed you. Ali, come over. Yi Hua shouted faintly. Dong Huangli rushed into Yi Hua's embrace like a little bird. This made Dong Huang Baiji feel very jealous. Why is my daughter so clingy to daddy? She wasn't like this in the past. Reporting to daddy, Ali is here. Yi Hua was very happy and said tenderly, Ali, can you help daddy out? Go and pass this fruit jianbing to Aunt Qing. She is angry right now and doesn't want to eat it. Ali's mission is to think of a way to make Aunt Qing eat it. Yi Hua felt sorry towards Qinya. Dong Huangli patted on her chest. Daddy, don't worry, Ali will definitely make Aunt Qing eat it. Then, go ahead. Dong Huangli took the fruit jianbing and ran to the 2nd floor. Yi Hua let out a sigh of relief. I hope that Qinya won't be stubborn for the sake of the child. It is normal for her to be angry. I was also very angry back then and couldn't eat for a few days. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly while sitting like an empress. Yi Hua came to Dong Huang Baiji's side and sat beside her. He lit up a cigarette and said, "Seems like you still can't forget about me. Why didn't you come and look for me after you got Ali?" Dong Huang Baiji sneered, "I have my dignity too. I will take care of Ali myself. You don't need to worry about me. Fortunately, my Ali found me, otherwise, you will be in for a good time." "Shameless man." Yi Hua said gravely, "If you want to be locked up here forever, you can scold me however you want." "You are a bastard." "Bastard?" Yi Hua's expression turned cold. He dragged Dong Huang Baiji over and placed her on his lap. Dong Huang Baiji's expression changed greatly. "My spiritual power is sealed. I am just like an ordinary person. How can I be this man's opponent?" "What are you doing?" "Pa." Yi Hua slapped onto that perky buttocks and said gravely, "Don't think that I don't dare to teach you a lesson. I heard that you made my daughter kneel on the keyboard. I'll make you kneel on the keyboard one day." "Bastard, let me go!" Dong Huang Baiji shouted out loudly. She could feel a burning sensation coming from her butt. "This bastard is so heavy-handed." While smoking, Yi Hua raised and lowered his hand. "Dong Huang Baiji, you better be clear about the facts. Since you are already here, you should properly be my woman and stop thinking about useless things." "Scram. I will be your woman for the rest of my life." Dong Huang Baiji did not fear Yi Hua's threat and shouted out angrily. However, Yi Hua liked this kind of stubborn woman. If she were to admit defeat right away, it would be meaningless. Immediately, a symphony started ringing out in the hall. However, Dong Huang Baiji did not make a single sound and endured it. After a short while, Yi Hua gave up on this move, as it was useless against her. "That's all for today. If you dare to offend your superiors again, I won't let you off lightly." "Yi Hua, I hate you!" Dong Huang Baiji shouted out coldly with red eyes. "Back then, you were the one who was heartless, and now, you want to do this to me? Do you think that I, Dong Huang Baiji, am the kind of woman who comes and goes as you please?" Looking at Yi Hua walking up the stairs, Dong Huang Baiji tightly wrinkled her brows and touched her butt. So painful. Dong Huang Li, who was walking up the stairs with a Chinese jianbing, stealthily opened the door and saw that Aunt Qing was lying on the sofa. Dong Huang Li felt very sad in her heart. "It's all my fault. If not, Daddy wouldn't have fallen out with Aunt Qing." "Get out!" Qinya shouted out coldly. "Aunt Qing, it's me, Ali." Dong Huang Li was startled by Qinya and said with grievance. Qinya went into a daze, then turned her head around and looked towards the door. As expected, it was only little Ali. Qinya said embarrassedly, "Ali, Aunt Qing didn't shout at you on purpose just now." Towards Dong Huang Li, Qinya did not feel any resentment towards her. After all, children are innocent. Furthermore, I like Ali. She is a very sensible little girl. "Aunt Qing, I'm sorry, it was Ali's appearance that made you and Daddy angry." The clever Dong Huang Li began laying the groundwork. That pitiful expression on her face made it seem as if she had to take responsibility for everything that was wrong. Qinya tenderly hugged onto Dong Huang Li, then said faintly, "Ali, this is not your fault. All of the faults are your daddy's fault." Dong Huang Li stretched out her small hand and wiped away the tears that were at the corner of Qinya's eyes. "Aunt Qing, Ali still wants to apologize to you." "Silly child, you did not do anything wrong. It is Aunt's own fault." Qinya squeezed out a trace of a smile. Dong Huang Li pursed her small mouth. "Aunt Qing, Daddy punished Mommy to sleep in the living room last night." In actuality, Dong Huang Li understood that one shouldn't think that children are easy to be deceived. Hearing that, Qinya went into a daze for a moment. "I thought that Daddy and Daddy would sleep together, but I didn't expect that they didn't. Yesterday, Daddy and Ali slept together, and Daddy was even calling out Aunt Qing's name in his dreams." If Yi Hua were to hear what his daughter said, he would definitely shout out 666. As expected of my biological daughter, she knows how to help Daddy. Qinya didn't say anything, but it was clear that her expression was getting a bit better, and her beautiful face became more relaxed. "Aunt Qing, quickly eat some, if not you will get hungry." Seeing that it was about time, Dong Huangli took out the Chinese jianbing that was in her hand. How about Ali feed Aunt Qing this? This jianbing is super delicious. Ali is already very full now. Ali is so obedient, Aunt can do it myself. Qingya was finally moved by little Ali. Originally, she was planning to go on a hunger strike to protest against Yi Hua's actions. Fortunately, Dong Huangli stood up for Yi Hua, which made Qingya feel a bit more comfortable. After all, Yi Hua didn't really like explaining things to others. Seeing that Qingya had started eating, Dong Huangli rubbed onto Qingya's stomach. Aunt Qing, is Ali going to become a big sister? Qingya laughed bitterly, then said forcefully, in another 8 months, Ali will become a big sister. That's great, Ali is finally not lonely anymore. Looking at Dong Huangli, who was clapping her hands happily, Qingya went silent. If there wasn't a child, I wouldn't have interacted with Yi Hua, and the feelings that I have with Yi Hua are also born from the child. Right now, Qingya didn't know what she should do. Should I go and ask Yutong and see what she thinks about this matter? What Qingya didn't know was that Qing Yutong had already changed sides a long time ago. Seeing that Aunt Qing had started eating, Dong Huangli felt that she had completed her mission perfectly and happily left the house to report this good news. After Yi Hua heard it, he finally let out a breath of relief. Towards Qingya, Yi Hua didn't want to use forceful methods, because he knew that Qingya wasn't the kind of person who would be amenable to coaxing but not coercion. This family conflict still needs to be slowly mediated, and right now, I can only hope that my daughter will be able to act as a bridge and properly communicate with them. Chapter 219. Zijin City. Location, Shao Family Mansion. The same location, the mansion's hall. At this moment, Shao Yi's face was pale as he sat in a wheelchair. He was on a drip and looked very weak. Behind her stood her 2 beautiful wives, Shu Nan and the pregnant Yu Qi. The 2 of them accompanied her with concern, their beautiful eyes filled with endless worry. On the mahogany chair below, Tang Wushuang was currently sipping on a cup of tea. There was a trace of peculiarity in his expression. If one didn't observe carefully, it would be very hard to notice. Big brother Shao, the current situation is not very optimistic. I feel that Big brother Shao should retreat for now. Tang Wushuang was struggling in his heart. Shao Yi had done me a favor, but for the sake of the entire family's benefits, and also for personal reasons, if Shao Yi gave him the Xianyuan sword, that would be for the best. It would prevent a scene of brothers turning against each other. He could only hope that Shao Yi could see the current situation clearly. How did the aristocratic families decide? Shao Yi asked weakly, but there was a hint of sadness in the depths of his eyes. He didn't need to think too much to know why his good brother had come. Tang Wushuang let out a breath, then placed the teacup on the table. This time around, when the people from the north went to snatch it, the aristocratic families from the south used this as an excuse and filed a lawsuit against the north. Furthermore, the 2 big shots from the south are also supporting them from the back. The fact that the north didn't respond to the lawsuit, I'm afraid that they tacitly agreed to it. So in order to avoid a large-scale death, both sides reached an agreement. What agreement? Shao Yi asked in a deep voice. It was hard for Tang Wushuang to say it out loud. After a long while, he said, the southern clans will choose 3 clan heads to come to the north to snatch it, but they can't bring anyone along. Whether we can seize it or not will depend on the abilities of the 3 patriarchs. Do you have any requests for the northern family? Tang Wushuang shook his head. If I had a request, I wouldn't be sitting here. Actually, to the aristocratic families, this matter was not important. The South was fighting for their face, and they fought for this fair and square counterattack. The aristocratic families in the North did not have any rules, so they definitely had the intention of protecting them. Of course, this wasn't to protect the Shao family, but rather to protect the ancient godly item from falling into the hands of the Southerners. After all, if the ancient godly item was really snatched away by the Southerners, it would be a great humiliation. As for the target of the fight, it went without saying that it was Shao Yi's Xianyuan sword. Everyone knew that Shao Yi had been injured in the battle against the black-robed man. It was very simple to take advantage of his weakness. It was irrational to rob the Bai clan. After all, Bai Ci was very eccentric. There was also Wang Debao, the king of luck. Shao Yi slowly closed his eyes and said, "It seems like they plan to wash my Shao family in blood." Big brother Shao, the Xinyuan sword is a hot potato now. As long as you don't have the Xinyuan sword, they won't do anything to you. After all, their target is the ancient godly item, not Big brother Shao. Shao Yi opened his eyes, revealing a deathly aura. "Wu Shuang, what do you think Big brother should do?" That was what he wanted to hear. Tang Wushuang's body slightly leaned forward, and it could be seen just how much he longed for it right now. This minute movement was seen by Shao Yi very clearly. "Big brother Shao, now all the small clans and rich merchants have announced that they are staying away from you. The situation is very bad. If you trust Wu Shuang, you can give the Xinyuan sword to Wu Shuang for safekeeping. Wu Shuang will definitely protect you." In actuality, Tang Wushuang had thought of many kinds of methods. Not only would he be able to obtain the Xinyuan sword, but he would also be able to not destroy the friendship between them. This was the only method he could try. However, when the time came, he would definitely be lectured by his master. If it was 10 days ago, Shao Yi might have handed over Xinyuan sword without holding anything back, but now, that was impossible. He could even see the intention of this brotherly man. The Xinyuan sword was an ancient godly item. There was no need to talk about its might. For it to be able to contend against the Death Mage's Scythe of Death, it was even able to leave a dent in the Scythe of Death. From this, it could be seen just how powerful the Xinyuan sword was. Who wouldn't want to possess such an ancient godly item? If the aristocratic families didn't set a limit on the number of ancient godly items that they could possess, they would have come to snatch it long ago. Among all swords, the Xinyuan sword was the king. It was an ancient godly item that even aristocratic families wanted to possess. Tang Wushuang's words were indeed pleasant to hear. He said that he would temporarily keep it for safekeeping. Most probably, once he went there would be no possibility of him taking it back. Shao Yi sighed and said, "Wu Shuang, back then when I snatched the Xinyuan sword, it was fortunate that you were there to help me restrain the enemy." Hearing what Shao Yi said, Tang Wushuang was delighted in his heart. "But the Xinyuan sword is the symbol of our Shao family. The Shao clan is no longer the Shao clan. Wu Shuang, you should understand what I mean." Shao Yi didn't want to point it out. He only wanted Tang Wushuang to give up on the thought of snatching the Xinyuan sword. If that's the case, then we can still continue being brothers. However, Tang Wushuang didn't think so. "Back then, if it wasn't for me helping you, you wouldn't have been able to snatch Xinyuan sword. Even at this time, you still want to protect it. Do you really not trust me that much?" The more Tang Wushuang thought about it, the more he was unwilling to accept it. Originally, Shao family and Tang family were on the same starting line, and it was because Shao family snatched Xinyuan sword that their momentum overshadowed Tang family. Everyone thought that he was Shao Yi's lackey, a hired thug. After all, when he was weak, brother Shao had helped him out. However, even at this time, he is still protecting the sword. Tang Wushuang was furious. He thought to himself, what teacher said is right, on the path of power, there are only benefits. "Big brother Shao, if you still don't make a decision now, when they come, Wu Shuang won't be able to help you anymore." Tang Wushuang's brows wrinkled tightly, and his tone actually carried a threatening tone. This made Shao Yi very hurt. This world was filled with all kinds of benefits and temptations. Originally, he thought that Tang Wushuang would be able to walk with him to the end, but in the end, Tang Wushuang was still unable to endure the temptation of Xinyuan sword. "Wu Shuang, brother Shao appreciates your kind intentions, but you should just do what you have to do." Shao Yi sighed. "Today is probably the day when we fall out with each other. Yo, young Master Tang, you came so early, why didn't you call your brother along?" A young man could be seen walking in from outside the door. He was wearing a white singlet, and his explosive muscles were exposed, looking very sexy. The full beard on his face added a sense of manliness, and his facial features were very pleasant to look at. This man's name was Ling Tian, and he was the head of the Ling family in the northeast. The purpose of him coming here was very obvious. "Xinyuan sword. From there, he would obtain the qualification to be promoted to an aristocratic family. Speaking of which, this Ling Tian and Xiao Yi had interacted before. Back then they also helped each other out. Just that, they were not in the same city, so their relationship wasn't very close. So it's Ling Tian who came. Quickly take a seat. Shu Nan served the tea. Although Xiao Yi had a smile on his face, he felt uncomfortable in his heart. Other than Tang Wushuang, Ling Tian could also be considered as a friend. However, he didn't expect that a disaster would occur. It was fine if a normal friend left, but a good brother and a good friend also change sides. This was a test, and the test was all about human nature. Brother Xiao, sister-in-law. Ling Tian cupped his hands and didn't reveal the purpose of him coming here. Shu Nan smiled gently. Ling Tan, quickly take a seat. All right, sister-in-law. Ling Tian appeared to be very forthright, forming a clear contrast with Tang Wushuang's expression. After drinking the tea that Shu Nan served, Ling Tian smiled and said, "Good tea, it's much better than the tea at home." Yu Qi laughed. "If you feel that it's good, I can prepare a few packets for you to bring back." Sister-in-law, don't I am a rough person, and I was just pretending just now. In actuality, it's so bitter, it would be a waste to give it to me. Ling Tian laughed loudly, and the tense atmosphere eased up a bit. After pausing for a moment, Ling Tian asked curiously, "Brother Xiao, are your injuries all right?" Chapter 220. Xiao Yi let out a deep sigh and squeezed out a smile. "Thank you for your concern, Brother Ling Tian. My injuries won't heal in a short time." Ling Tian let out a heavy sigh. "Brother Xiao, this won't do. I've received news that the Cloud sect in the south has been defeated. The Southern Alliance. Guang family. He's already on his way." After Xiao Yi heard this, he said softly, "Yun Sect's sect Master Sun Fong, Southern Alliance's Hai Daisi, Guang clan's Guang Tianlu, they really think highly of our Xiao clan." Ling Tian grinned. Xiao Yi didn't have a source of information and didn't know about this. He said, "Big brother Xiao, the sect leader of the Cloud sect has changed. The current sect leader is Sun Yi." Sun Yi? Xiao Yi really didn't know. He wasn't in the mood to investigate the south. Ling Tian nodded his head and said, "I'll have to start from the ancient godly item. The previous sect master of the Cloud sect, Sun Fong, had an affair with the black robe." Tainted black robe. Xiao Yi was very shocked. That black robe is a skeleton, and Sun Fong is a human, and furthermore, she is a proud woman of the south. How could she possibly have an affair with a skeleton? Does this skeleton have any special skills? This news has already been confirmed. On that day when we were fighting over the ancient godly item, the black robe had appeared with Sun Fong, and the actions of the two of them were especially alluring. This black robe is also an expert, to actually be able to woo the southern girl, Sun Fong. Speaking up to here, Ling Tian was also endlessly envious. That Sun Fong's appearance is top-notch. However, hearing that the black-robed man was so terrifying, this Sun Fong's brain must have been damaged. Sun Fong was overthinking things. Right now, she was very happy. She could play some games, poke some skeletons, and have a bunch of winners listening to her commands. This was much more interesting than being a sect master. Of course, the reason why she was able to obtain her current position was because of Yi Hua. It could be given, but it could also be taken back. This was the so-called deciding a person's fate with a single thought. Just like the current Xiao Yi, the reason why Yi Hua gave Xiao Yi his life was because he hoped that Xiao Yi would not receive his bento so quickly. Don't think that this is charity, this is Yi Hua's understanding of human nature. Okay, this is charity. His life was given by Yi Hua, so of course, he could take it back as well. It all depended on how strong Xiao Yi's comprehension was and whether he could achieve Yi Hua's goal in this crisis. Shu Nan and Yu Qi were also quite shocked. Everyone was present that day, and they had an innate fear of Black Robe. Now that they heard that Black Robe had an affair with a southern lady, their worldview was overturned. Skeletons and people? Humans and animals? Right now, Tang Wushuang didn't say anything. Although the black robe was powerful, his teacher had also said that he would be able to defeat the black robe. Therefore, there was nothing for him to worry about. However, there were a lot of things that Tang Wushuang didn't know. You know nothing of your enemy. However, he had no idea who the real enemy was. Xinyuan's sword? This was just bait. 9 demons punishing tower? In Yi Hua's eyes, Wang Debao was just a black iron. The reason why Yi Hua threw Wang Debao to Wang Debao was because Wang Debao was a trustworthy person, and his main purpose was to frame Yi Hua. However, Wang Debao happily ran back to Yi Hua and fawned upon Yi Hua. All of this was under Yi Hua's control. If there wasn't a family dispute, I would definitely want to admire this process right now. After all, he was the one who directed it. How could he not appreciate his work? Xiao Yi on the main seat was silent. 3 from the south. There were 2 of them. And this was only on the surface. Who knew how many of them were hiding in the dark? It seemed like a bloody battle was going to happen today. At this moment, 3 silhouettes appeared in the sky, flying rapidly towards the Shao clan mansion. Swish, swish, swish. The 3 of them were precisely Sun Yi, Hai Daisi, and Guang Tianlu, who rushed over from the south. The 3 of them were fearless. After all, the higher-ups had given the order, other than the owner of the ancient godly item, no one is allowed to harm the 3 of them. Although it was the promise made by the aristocratic families in the north, who knows if the aristocratic families would make a move on the 3 of them. Therefore, the aristocratic families in the south didn't dare to rashly make a decision. However, some people like to take risks. After the 3 of them landed, they cupped their hands towards Xiao Yi. Xiao family head, I trust that you have been well since we last met. Xiao Yi smiled lightly. Those who came are guests. Shu Nan served tea. The 3 of them pondered for a while and sat down to observe the situation. However, they didn't drink the tea. Who knows if the tea was drugged or not? Hai Daisi didn't want to be long-winded and went straight to the point. Xiao family head, I'm afraid that you already know the reason why we came here. Hand over Xinyuan's sword, and we can avoid a battle. What you all said is right. Handing over Xinyuan's sword is indeed my choice, but I still want to take a gamble. Xiao Yi waved his hand and gestured to Shu Nan and Yu Qi to leave. However, they seemed to be very worried. Sun Yi snorted coldly, then said while looking at Xiao Yi, who was being injected with water, since Xiao family head insists on doing this, then don't blame us. Xiao Yi pulled out the needle and slowly stood up. Everyone was a big shot, and Xiao Yi's current state was very weak. One finger could poke him to death. It's not convenient to fight here. Everyone follow me, Xiao Yi said indifferently and slowly flew out of Xiao family mansion. Everyone followed behind him and didn't make things difficult for him. After all, they were here to steal ancient god items, not to exterminate a family. Xiao Yi brought everyone to an open space. It was as if it had been baptized by an atomic bomb. It was clearly a forest, but there was not a single blade of grass growing within a few miles. This is the place where I fought against the black robe that night. Xiao Yi's words caused everyone to gasp. Hearing about it was just hearing about it, but seeing it in person was another feeling. It wasn't that the people here couldn't do it, but it was very difficult unless it was a life and death situation. It seemed that Xiao Yi was in a life and death situation that night, which also showed the power of Xinyuan's sword. Actually, the real battle wasn't the destruction of the scene, but the snap of a finger. All kinds of difficult and complicated diseases could be cured. The 3 of them were glad that Xiao Yi was in a sick state, or else it would have been a little troublesome. Xiao Yi clenched his fist and the golden Xinyuan sword appeared in his hand, emitting a dense aura. Seeing Xiao Yi take out the Xinyuan sword, the breathing of the 3 quickened. Compared to the 9 demons punishing pagoda, the Xinyuan sword was much more attractive. Tang Wushuang took a deep breath, then silently walked to the side, expressing his attitude. Xiao Yi took a look. He wasn't disappointed, but he felt pained. Ling Tian hesitated with a heavy expression, as though he was struggling with the devil in his heart. Ling Tian, Xiao Yi, don't regret being friends with you. It's time to make a choice. Xiao Yi used the Xinyuan sword to support his body. However, at this moment, Sun Yi's slender hand trembled, and a sharp sword appeared in her hand. With a fierce sword chi, she attacked Xiao Yi with a speed that would leave people speechless. Anyone who could become the Grandmaster of the Cloud Sect was no pushover. Xiao Yi's face sank. The wind from the sword energy caused Xiao Yi's clothes to flutter and his face to hurt. He gripped the Xinyuan sword tightly in his hand. Good timing. I, Xiao Yi, have been holding back my anger for far too long. The pain of losing my wife, the pain of begging others, every second is torturing me. This emperor has commanded the winds and clouds for 1,000 years, but I never thought that I would fall after my rebirth. Since that's the case, I shall let all of you experience the pain of angering an immortal emperor. However, just when Xiao Yi was about to move his sword, a large hand suddenly grabbed the sword. Ling Tian's weapons were all parts of his body. Xiao Yi looked at Ling Tian, who was at the side, and Ling Tian looked at Xiao Yi with a smile. Chapter 221. In the face of imminent peril, Ling Tian did not find his conscience. Instead, he discovered that Xiao Yi was pretending. No wonder he was the act tough king. He was the one who taught him how to act tough in the past. Who would have thought that he would use this trick of pretending to be sick today? Amazing! He accepted this act of acting tough. With a shout, Sun Yi pulled out her sharp sword, causing sparks to fly in Ling Tian's palm. Brother Xiao, today, we will fight with our backs against the wall. I do not wish to be born on the same day, but I wish to die on the same day. Ling Tian roared and a powerful aura spread out in all directions. Those who didn't know better would think that the two of them were gay friends. Ling Tian then patted Xiao Yi's shoulder. Don't worry, with me around, no one will dare to touch a single hair on Brother Xiao's head. He thought to himself, Brother Xiao will most probably be touched to death. That Tang Wushuang really doesn't have good eyesight. Brother Xiao is the act tough king, how could he let go of such a pretentious scene? Good brother. I'm going to take a break, Xiao Yi said in a deep voice, using the Xinyuan sword as a crutch. Brother Xiao, I'm not joking. Don't scare me. I've already boasted about it. Otherwise, I'll be slapping my face. Hi Dicey. Go install Ling Tian. Guang Tian Road. You and I will launch a pincer attack on Xiao Yi. Sun Yi shouted. Guang Tianlu frowned, and 3 cards instantly appeared on her slender fingers, radiating with a red glow. Ice Bone Dragon. As the 3 cards were thrown out, 3 ice bone dragons were instantly condensed. This kind of bone dragon was not ordinary. Its skeleton seemed to be made of ice and had sharp ice thorns. The 3 huge ice bone dragons faced the sky and roared. The bursts of dragon roars made people exclaim in admiration. Guang Tianlu threw out another 3 cards and imprinted them on the 3 ice skeletal dragons. Golden light flashed, and when the ice bone dragon reappeared, its skeleton was actually wearing a set of golden armor, looking very majestic. Coupled with its huge body, it was even more frightening. As expected of the Southern Guang family's patriarch. Crafty card player 6. Sun Yi was not to be outdone. Although the Cloud Sect was known for their sword arts, the secret scripture that the Cloud Sect had was not sword arts, but rather, Thousand Mountains' sovereign guide. Chasing after Sun Yi let out a delicate shout, and a huge amount of spiritual energy gushed out from her body, covering the entire ground. Boom! With a muffled sound, a huge crack appeared on the ground, and a giant claw emerged from the ground. It was followed by another giant claw, then the head, and then the entire body. The aura he emitted made everyone suck in a breath of cold air. An ancient divine beast. Ling Tian let out a cry of surprise. This lady actually summoned an ancient divine beast. How was this possible? Not only was Ling Tian dumbfounded, apart from Sun Yi herself, everyone else was dumbfounded. To actually summon an ancient mythological beast, this should be the foundation of the Cloud Sect. This woman was really willing to part with it. If the sect was not in a life and death situation, they would definitely not reveal their trump cards. Who would have thought that for the sake of an ancient godly item, they would even bring out an ancient divine beast? What a waste! Xiao Yi looked at the ancient divine beast in front of him with a solemn expression. This beast looked a bit like a Tyrannosaurus rex, but the difference was that it had 2 heads and 4 limbs. Its 4 eyes were even more frightening, they even contained a hint of confusion. The black scales on its body wriggled slowly, looking extremely disgusting. As expected of an ancient divine beast. Thousand Mountains' sovereign guide. However, Xiao Yi had never seen Ying family's heavy dust before. Compared to heavy dust, this ancient divine beast was much skinnier, just like a newborn baby. For the 3 big shots to be able to hold their positions, they naturally had their own trump cards. However, Ying family's trump cards were all suppressed by Yi Hua's absolute strength. Big brother Xiao, quickly leave, I will take care of things here. Ling Tian's current appearance was just like a child who was asking for a red packet during Chinese New Year. At this moment, Xiao Yi's entire aura was ignited, and a powerful spiritual energy swept out like raging waves. Rumbling sounds rang out between heaven and earth. Immediately, dark clouds covered the sky, and thunder rumbled. Right now, Xianyuan's sword seemed to have sensed its master's anger, and a powerful sword chi burst out from it. The sword chi actually fused together with Xiao Yi's spiritual energy, and the huge amount of energy that was produced actually caused cracks to appear on the ice bone dragon's armor. Tang Wushuang's face turned black. I didn't expect that brother Xiao was pretending to be sick. He is actually fine, and his strength seems to be even more ferocious than before. Lingen, you step back, I will be fine alone. The current Xiao Yi seemed to have returned to the past, the time when he was in control of life and death. Ling Tian was overjoyed. Big brother Xiao is indeed starting to act cool, as expected of the act tough King Xiao. Hi Dicey, what are you still looking at? Sun Yi shouted. The current Xiao Yi seems to be much stronger than I imagined. But even at his peak, he didn't have this kind of strength. Of course, this was all thanks to Wei Chang's black fog. Not only did it save Xiao Yi's life, it also increased his strength. The current Xiao Yi should be able to play with Death Assassin. He still won't be able to face Death Mage unless Death Mage goes for close combat again. As a big shot of the Southern Alliance, Hai Dicey definitely has the ability. Now that everyone has used their trump cards, I will also widen everyone's horizons. Hai Dicey can be seen drawing a spiritual formation in the air with his finger, then he slapped it down and shouted, everyone's invisibility technique. Other than Xiao Yi and the other 2, all the humans and beasts disappeared. Xiao Yi's face sunk. This is not a simple invisibility technique, even their aura is hidden. The 3 big shots joining hands indeed gave Xiao Yi a headache. Xiao Yi summoned the black tortoise armor and said to Ling Tian who was beside him, I will remember today's favor, I will definitely repay you in the future. No need to be so polite, we are all family. Ling Tian had the intention to befriend Xiao Yi. If Xiao Yi managed to squeeze into the ranks of the aristocratic families, it would be good for his Ling family. Tang Wushuang who was at the side clenched his fists tightly. I didn't expect that I would be fooled by Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi, since you don't treat me as a brother, don't blame me for falling out with you. Xiao Yi who was on the battlefield held the Xianyuan sword in his hand and wore the black tortoise armor, looking exactly the same as when he fought against Death Mage. Immediately, a cold light came toward Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi hurriedly dodged, and when he turned around to look at the position he was at just now, it was filled with icicles. Without thinking too much, Xiao Yi dodged again, and the position he was at just now actually became a deep hole. Since I can't see it, then I will break it. Heaven's Punishment Sword Formula, Void Break. Xiao Yi could be seen stabbing the Xianyuan sword into the ground, and the ground immediately started to boil like boiling water. A wave of spiritual energy started to gather in the Xianyuan sword. Boom! With Xiao Yi as the center, a wave of golden light spread out in a circular shape, and Sun Yi and the others who just disappeared were all revealed. Hai Dicey cried out involuntarily, you actually broke my special ability. Xiao Yi looked at Hai Dicey and sneered, there is no special ability that the Xianyuan sword cannot break. Next, I will let all of you witness the might of the Xianyuan sword. Xianyuan art, illumination. The Xianyuan sword instantly floated up into the sky, and Xiao Yi, who was below, immediately made a hand seal. The spiritual energy on his body became denser and denser, and within this spiritual energy, there was also a trace of black fog which was not very eye-catching. Puchi. Xiao Yi's face sunk, and he slowly lowered his head. A dagger that was emitting a cold light pierced through his chest, and the blade of the dagger was still dripping with his own blood. When he turned around to take a look, it was actually Tang Wushuang. Xiao Yi had calculated everything, but he didn't expect that Tang Wushuang would actually kill him. Sneak attack. In actuality, Xiao Yi was still worried about Tang Wushuang's resentment. Xiao Yi thought that Tang Wushuang would fight against him openly, but he didn't expect that Tang Wushuang would actually sneak attack him. Furthermore, this dagger shouldn't be an ordinary item, as it was actually able to pierce through armor. This dagger was borrowed by Tang Wushuang's teacher, and it was an unremarkable ancient godly item. Tang Wushuang had to return it to Tang Wushuang. Chapter 222. The sudden sneak attack stunned everyone. Everyone knew that the relationship between Xiao Yi and Tang Wushuang wasn't bad. Even if the relationship between Xiao Yi and Tang Wushuang had fallen out, it wouldn't be to the extent of sneak attacking Tang Wushuang from behind, right? After all, sneak attacking Tang Wushuang in this kind of situation wasn't a glorious thing. With Tang Wushuang's way of doing things, even if he managed to obtain the Xianyuan sword, he would still fail the aristocratic family's evaluation. There was a problem with the family head's way of doing things. Right now, Tang Wushuang's gaze was no longer on the Xianyuan sword, he only wanted to kill this ungrateful brother of his. Tang Wushuang! Ling Tian shouted out angrily. He punched out with a ferocious momentum, and the vigorous spiritual energy turned into a giant golden fist. Tang Wushuang's expression turned serious. Pulling out his dagger, he clenched his right hand into a fist and actually punched towards the huge fist. Don't forget, Tang Wushuang is also very strong. Otherwise, the sneak attack wouldn't have gone so smoothly. He wasn't called the King of Soldiers for nothing. Boom boom boom. A series of loud explosions rang out, and waves of astonishing spiritual energy swept out in all directions, causing everyone to exclaim in admiration. Sun Yi, Hai Daisi, and Guang Tianlu were delighted. This Tang Wushuang could be said to have helped them a lot. The Xianyuan sword in the sky lost control of Xiao Yi and stabbed straight into the ground. Sun Yi was the first to react, and she dashed towards the Xianyuan sword. Hai Daisi and Guang Tianlu, who were at the back, came back to their senses. They scolded him for being shameless and hurriedly rushed forward. Right now, Xiao Yi was forced back and powerlessly fell to the ground. Blood was gushing out from his chest, but if one looked at his body, they would see a black mist slowly healing. However, Xiao Yi's gaze was fixated on Tang Wushuang's back view. He didn't dare to believe that Tang Wushuang would do such a thing. Sun Yi's speed was extremely fast. She grabbed the hilt of the Xianyuan sword with her delicate hand and pulled it out fiercely. She laughed wildly and said, "The Xianyuan sword belongs to me, Sun Yi." Just as Sun Yi was rejoicing, the three ice bone dragons charged at Sun Yi fiercely. Sun Yi snorted coldly and waved the Xianyuan sword in her hand. Suddenly, a golden light bloomed, and the three ice bone dragons were forced to retreat. Guang Tian rode. "What are you trying to do?" Sun Yi questioned coldly. "Sect Master Sun, it's not appropriate for you to snatch it away just like that." Guang Tianlu's calm face revealed his anger. Sun Yi laughed delicately. "Guang Tianlu, when we came here, we already agreed that this Xianyuan sword would belong to whoever snatches it first. Hai Daisi, what are you standing there for? Grab the sword." Guang Tianlu shouted at Hai Daisi, who was standing at the side. Another card appeared in his hand, and the three ice bone dragons started to fuse. Their bodies fused together and transformed into three ice bone dragon kings. Hai Daisi's expression was solemn, his hands quickly forming a seal, coldly shouting, "Ice roar." Huge blocks of ice instantly appeared around Sun Yi, and the surrounding temperature plummeted. Each block of ice contained a vast amount of spiritual qi. Sun Yi, who was in the middle of the formation, was facing the attacks of the two great forces. It seemed that she was not at ease. After all, she had just obtained the Xinyuan sword and did not have the time to decipher its mysteries. Under Guang Tianlu's control, Ice Bone Dragon King spewed out 3 streams of ice flame. Suddenly, the sky was covered with ice, and the sky that was originally covered with dark clouds was suddenly filled with a blizzard. Hai Daisi, Guang Tian Road. My Yun sect is irreconcilable with you. Hai Daisi sneered, Sun Ti. If you obediently hand over the Xinyuan sword, you can still be the sect leader. Otherwise, don't even think about it. The ancient divine beast at the side let out a loud roar, and the might of a divine beast attacked towards the two of them without holding back. The scales on its body actually left its body and flew towards the two of them like a swarm of bees. Hai Daisi and Guang Tianlu's expression tensed up, and they immediately used their martial arts to defend themselves. However, were the scales on the body of the ancient divine beast fake? Obviously not, and the two's defense was instantly destroyed. As expected of Yun sect's foundation, it cannot be underestimated. Guang Tianlu had no choice but to control Ice Bone Dragon King to attack the ancient divine beast, and the pressure on Sun Fang instantly decreased by a lot. Hai Daisi, go and die. Sun Fang used the Xinyuan sword in her hand to break through the formation, and pointed the sword at Hai Daisi. Hai Daisi was only a long-range metahuman, and he did not have strong close combat abilities like Death Mage. Thus, he could only choose to dodge. The two of them started a chase. Sun Yi was like a shrew, slashing with the Xinyuan sword, while Hai Daisi was like a bullied husband, dodging in all sorts of ways. Sun Fang, who was chasing after Hai Daisi, suddenly frowned. She felt a sense of danger. A silver needle that was flickering with a cold light pierced into the back of Sun Yi's hand, and she instantly felt numb. The Xinyuan sword in Sun Yi's hand fell onto the ground once again. A black silhouette passed through the air, and the Xinyuan sword that was on the ground instantly disappeared. The three of them stopped attacking each other at the same time and looked at the two people who were walking over from the sky. The back of Sun Yi's hand quickly turned purple. Not daring to be careless, Sun Yi hurriedly swallowed a pill, then sat cross-legged and started refining the pill. Guang Tianlu shouted out gravely, St. Dr. Song Huang. Fu Xiu. Fu Xiu could be seen holding onto the Xinyuan sword. Seems like that black silhouette just now was him, and the person who was standing at the side with a smile on his face was precisely St. Dr. Song Huang. With the title of killing people with his left hand and saving people with his right hand, the title of St. Dr. Song Huang was extremely famous and resounded throughout the entire north. The only difference between Song Huang and Long Outyin was that one appeared earlier, while the other appeared later. One didn't run into Yi Hua, while the other ran into him. The silver needle just now was shot out by Song Huang, and the silver needle was smeared with deadly poison. Of course, Song Huang would not lick the silver needle himself. Meanwhile, Fu Xiu was just an ordinary family's patriarch. His strength was ordinary, but his speed was extremely fast. He was even able to travel through space while running. His ability was a bit overpowered. Fu Xiu could be seen cupping his hands towards Song Huang, who was standing at the side with a faint smile on his face. Thank you, Saint Doctor, for lending me a hand. Patriarch Fu is too courteous. Back then you helped me. Today I shall return the favor. Song Huang smiled faintly, appearing very amiable. However, only Sun Yi knew how vicious this Saint Doctor was. Song Huang looked at the Xinyuan sword. He didn't want to own the Xinyuan sword. He preferred to live a free and unfettered life. Since Patriarch Fu has gotten what he wanted, I will take my leave. Thank you. Just as Song Huang was about to leave, he suddenly frowned. It was the same for Fu Xiu. The Xinyuan sword in his hand was vibrating slightly. What was going on? He looked at Xiao Yi, who had fallen to the side. It seemed like he didn't have the strength to control the Xinyuan sword. What was going on? Everyone knew about Fu Xiu. As long as he took something away, it would be very difficult to get it back. After all, his speed was too fast, and there was no way to get it back unless someone was faster. Furthermore, Saint Dr. Song Huang was protecting him, making it even harder to snatch him back. The northern aristocratic families were going back on their words. Sun Yi and the other two were about to go mad from anger. However, the two of them did not leave in a hurry after snatching it. Their expressions were very strange. Fu Xiu, there is a problem with this Xianyuan sword. Quickly throw it away. Song Huang shouted out hurriedly. Without thinking too much, Fu Xiu immediately tossed the Xianyuan sword in his hand out. When Guang Tianlu saw the Xianyuan sword that was in the air, he immediately controlled Ice Bone Dragon King to bite onto the Xianyuan sword. Xianyuan sword belongs to Guang family. Guang Tianlu had a happy look on his face, and he looked as if he was about to go crazy. However, everyone didn't look at Guang Tianlu. Instead, they looked at the Xianyuan sword that was in Ice Bone Dragon King's mouth. The body of the sword was trembling very intensely, as if it was being pulled by a powerful force. Boom! Chapter 223. Long and City Leisure Bar. 10 minutes ago, Yihua was currently sitting on the sofa in his bedroom with both of his legs placed on the coffee table and silently smoking. The family conflict caused Yihua to suffer unspeakably. Both of my hands are flesh, what choice do I have? Impossible, how can I give up my woman? Even if I die, I have to pull her up and continue to be my woman. But these two women are really annoying. One wants to split the child, the other would rather die than submit. How can their personalities be so unyielding? They don't have the gentleness that a woman should have. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Suddenly, Wei Chang appeared behind Yihua and shouted out respectfully. What's the matter? Yihua asked faintly. Hearing his honor's tone, I can tell that his mood isn't very good. I am also very depressed. Xiao Tang is ignoring me today. How can Tang Wei not be angry? We can clearly live together, but suddenly, two non-mainstream people appeared. Uncle Wei's male chauvinism is too serious. Wei Chang said lightly, Your Honor, subordinate said that I left a bit of aura on Xianyuan's sword for your honor to play with, and now, the time is ripe. Oh, that Xiao Yi is going to die again? Yihua asked faintly. The situation isn't very optimistic, but he can still keep his life. Yihua shook his head. Seems like I overestimated this Xiao Yi. He can't even kill a few people. It is precisely because of this that his honor is able to play around. After all, his honor's mood isn't very good these few days. Killing a few people can relieve your mood. Wei Chang bowed his body and laughed lightly. As a subordinate, I have to make my boss happy. If I were to use this kind of effort to treat Tang Wei would probably be touched to death and directly push Wei Chang down. Yihua sighed, but his mood isn't very good. I'll just play around then. Wei Chang, it seems like you understand me well. Then, subordinate will not disturb his honor's fun anymore. I will take my leave. After finished speaking, Wei Chang disappeared from the bedroom. Yihua waved his hand, then began searching for the aura that Wei Chang left behind. Very quickly he found it. There aren't many people here, killing them won't be of any use. That Xiao Yi is just like a salted fish that is lying on the ground. I am truly disappointed. Yihua could be seen raising his hand and stretching out his index finger, intending to control Xianyuan's sword from a distance. Hee, this Xianyuan sword actually dares to resist. Interesting, but in front of me, Xianyuan sword. In just a few moments, Yihua had already infiltrated into the interior of Xianyuan sword. Right now, Yihua was lying on the sofa with his eyes closed, and his index finger was slowly moving, as if he was recalling something, recalling those people's terrified expressions. At the venue, Hai Daisi looked at the Xianyuan sword floating in the air and rushed over, grabbing it. The Xianyuan sword belongs to the Southern Alliance. Everyone remained silent and looked at the Xianyuan sword nervously. What had just happened was too bizarre. The Ice Bone Dragon King's explosion had injured Guang Tianlu, and Sun Yi was sitting cross-legged to detoxify the poison. There were only a few people present. However, there were a few groups of people hiding in the surroundings. They seemed to want to seize the opportunity to attack, but when they saw the situation, they seemed to calm down. Just as Hai Daisi was overjoyed, the Xinyuan sword in his right hand actually rotated 360 degrees. Ah! Hai Daisi's entire right arm was cut off by the Xinyuan sword. This sudden scene was inconceivable. Xiao Yi was unconscious, so who was controlling the Xinyuan sword? Itself? How could this be? The severed arm flew in the air. Yi Hua's index finger slowly moved, and Xinyuan's sword could be seen turning into afterimages. The entire arm was sliced into powder by Xinyuan's sword. Everyone took in a breath of cold air. Right now, I can't even catch up to the arm anymore. Quickly run! Song Huang shouted out loudly. This is a trap. Fu Xiu's speed was extremely fast, and he disappeared in an instant. Yi Hua laughed lightly. You are quite fast. With a wave of Yi Hua's finger, Xinyuan's sword that was thousands of miles away turned into a golden afterimage and rushed straight towards Fu Xiu. Fu Xiu, who was running frantically, turned his head around to take a look, and his eyeballs almost popped out. That Xinyuan sword actually caught up to me, and it is even at the same level as me. Furthermore, it even swung the sword's body as if it was mocking me. How is this possible? Fu Xiu found it hard to believe. Even the experts from aristocratic families don't have a speed like mine. This ancient godly item Xinyuan sword has such an ability? It is definitely being controlled by someone. Xinyuan sword's speed could be seen becoming even faster. When it arrived in front of Fu Xiu, it suddenly drifted. Puchi. His heart turned cold. Fu Xiu stared at the Xinyuan sword in his stomach in a daze. He still felt like he was dreaming. Initially, Yi Futian thought that with his speed and Song Huang's protection, the Xinyuan sword would definitely be able to pierce through Yi Futian's body. And now, the Xinyuan sword had indeed pierced through Yi Futian's abdomen. The Xinyuan sword dragged Fu Xiu's body back to the scene. Everyone at the scene thought that the Xinyuan sword had run away, but they didn't expect the Xinyuan sword to bring Fu Xiu back. Song Huang's face was filled with shock. He was well aware of Fu Xiu's speed. In terms of speed, not many people could be faster than Fu Xiu. However, such a person was actually pierced by the Xinyuan sword and brought back. Not to mention himself and the others. Right now, everyone didn't dare to act blindly without thinking. Ling Tian, who was guarding Xiao Yi and fighting intensely with Tang Wushuang, also stopped when he saw this scene. The Xinyuan sword tossed Fu Xiu into the air. Yi Hua's index finger lightly moved, and at the same time, Xinyuan's sword drew out rays of golden light in the air. Fu Xiu's limbs were amputated in the air, turning into pieces that fell to the ground. It was a chilling scene. Tang Wushuang wasn't in a hurry to think. If he didn't run now, the one who would die later on would be him. Yi Hua closed his eyes and said coldly, trying to run. No one will be able to escape today. Just like Fu Xiu, Tang Wushuang's abdomen was pierced through and brought back. However, Tang Wushuang didn't die, but rather, he was thrown onto the ground. Ling Tian swallowed his saliva. I've tested Tang Wushuang's strength just now, and he's even more powerful than before. However, he was still pierced through by the Xinyuan sword. Could it be that it's still Xiao Yi? He pretended to be sick again, but he was actually controlling the Xinyuan sword to kill people. Act tough, King Xiao, stop pretending. I know it's you. Ling Tian shook Xiao Yi, but Xiao Yi didn't react. Everyone at the scene knew that whoever ran would die. Even Song Huang descended from the sky and stared at the Xinyuan sword cautiously. Shua. The Xinyuan sword disappeared again, and when it reappeared, it was followed by 20 to 30 people, all of whom had lost an arm. Song Huang furrowed his brows. These people were all the higher-ups of the northern forces. It seemed like they were all hiding at the side, observing the situation, or waiting for the right moment to snatch the treasure. Unfortunately, he was too unlucky. Right now, Xinyuan's sword was just like a big brother, looking down at these people and fluttering back and forth along with Yi Hua's finger. Sage Doctor, what should we do now? This sword is very strange. One of the people in the group asked gravely. Song Huang shook his head and didn't say anything. Right now, Xinyuan's sword was like a kidnapper, and I and the others were like hostages. Whether we live or die would be decided by a single thought from Xianyuan's sword. If Xianyuan's sword wanted to run away, Xianyuan's sword would pierce through his heart. Although Tang Wushuang didn't die right now, he wasn't far from death. Alliance Master Hai, are you all right? Guang Tianlu asked weakly. Hai Daisy had already stopped bleeding, but his face was pale. I'm all right, how about you? Chapter 224. Are you guys going to run? The weak Sun Yi slowly walked over and asked. The two of them shook their heads. Running away now was the same as courting death. If they wanted to die, they could run. Yi Hua lied on the sofa, and his mood became a bit better. Seems like only by doing this can I make myself slightly happy and not think about those two women. Just as Yi Hua was preparing to deal with those people, Dong Huangli suddenly opened the door and entered the room, then shouted out sweetly, Daddy. Yi Hua opened his eyes and revealed out a light smile. Ali, what happened? Dong Huangli could be seen running to Yi Hua's side, then grabbed onto Yi Hua's hand that was controlling Xianyuan's sword with both of her hands. Dong Huangli began shaking Xianyuan's sword violently, then said coquettishly, Daddy, play with Ali. Yi Hua's index fingers shook violently along with Dong Huangli's shaking. Ali, Daddy is working. Boo-hoo, Papa, Ali misses you. Dong Huangli could be seen increasing the strength of Yi Hua's hands, and the arc of Yi Hua's swaying became bigger and bigger, and the speed of Yi Hua's swaying also became faster and faster. Right now, the Xianyuan sword was like a drunkard, flying around in the air, making people feel numb. Song Huang shouted out anxiously. Everyone began to run in all directions, but the range of the Xianyuan sword swing was getting wider and wider, and its speed was getting faster and faster. Many people were inexplicably cut in half at the waist while running, or their heads were separated from their bodies. Everyone could see that the Xianyuan sword seemed to be out of control, so they ran even more desperately. The scene suddenly turned into purgatory, and blood flew everywhere. On the other hand, Tang Wushuang, who was lying on the ground, managed to avoid this calamity. On the other hand, Sun Fang's group of 3 were luckier. They quickly fled to the north. Daddy, Ali will bring you to eat chicken, okay? Ali will let you show off your might in front of Aunt Qing, and perhaps Aunt Qing will forgive you. While acting coquettishly, Dong Huangli shook Yi Hua's arm. I wonder how many people died when you shook them like that. Okay, Ali will wait for Papa first. Papa will be here soon. Let's pinky swear then. Dong Huangli stretched out her pinky. Of course, Yi Hua would satisfy his daughter's various requests. After his daughter left, Yi Hua looked towards the scene, and his expression immediately sunk. The Xianyuan sword, which was flying around randomly, also stopped moving. They actually ran away. Yi Hua let out a breath. After thinking for a bit, accompanying my daughter is more important. With a flick of his index finger, Xianyuan's sword directly stabbed towards the side of Xiao. Ling Tian looked at this scene dumbfoundedly and said to the unconscious Xiao Yi, and you said you weren't acting cool. I've never seen someone so good at pretending. Hurry up and get up. They've already left. Even if you act cool, no one will applaud you. Ling Tian shouted out helplessly. Looking at the Xianyuan sword in front of him, Ling Tian did not dare to take it. He was afraid that the situation from before would happen again. For example, Tang Wushuang, who was lying on the ground. Just a moment ago, the Xianyuan sword had accidentally stabbed into his crotch. However, right now Tang Wushuang's crotch was completely blood red, and his stomach was the same as well. Not long after, Xiao Yi woke up. Big brother Xiao, you're finally awake. Ling Tian exclaimed as he supported Xiao Yi. What's wrong? Xiao Yi asked blankly. Ling Tian rolled his eyes. Brother Xiao, I know you're humble, but if you continue to be so humble, you won't have any friends. Xiao Yi was confused and expressed that he really didn't know. She helped Xiao Yi to stand up. Brother Xiao, what should we do with that Tang Wushuang? Ling Tian looked towards Tang Wushuang, who was on the verge of death, and asked. Xiao Yi took a look, then said gravely, whether he lives or dies will depend on his own luck. I, Xiao Yi, don't owe him anymore. Ling Tian nodded his head, then brought Xiao Yi along and wanted to go back. After the two left, a man appeared. With his brows wrinkled, he looked at his phone. F***, he's gone again. I'm going to cut off one of his legs when I go back. This man was precisely Gui Qingren, Tang Wushuang's master. Looking at his disciple's miserable state, Gui Qingren shook his head. This disciple is truly making me lose face. Master, save me. Tang Wushuang stretched out his bloody hand. Gui Qingren said coldly, Don't touch me, I look very dirty. Master? Tang Wushuang shouted out weakly. Gui Qingren was helpless. With a wave of his hand, the two disappeared from the scene. The entire world returned back to normal, and the black clouds in the sky gradually dispersed as well. Only the bloodstains on the ground could prove that a battle had happened here. Yi Hua, who was in the bedroom, thought for a while, then decided to contact Wei Cheng. I can't let them off so easily. Your Honor, are you feeling better now? Wei Cheng appeared in the bedroom and asked respectfully. Yi Hua let out a sigh. I was interrupted by Ali. Your Honor definitely didn't do it on purpose. I naturally know that, which is why I called you over. Go and deal with those people from just now. Yi Hua said faintly. Wei Cheng remained silent for a moment, then said, Your Honor, subordinate has something that I don't know if I should say or not. Speak. This time, the North and the South had an agreement beforehand. If the 3 people from the South died in the North, I think it would be even better. Yi Hua was startled. I didn't expect that Wei Cheng would have such a realization. Wei Cheng, your recent performance is very good. If you have any requests, you can let me know. Yi Hua was very happy. It is a good thing for subordinates to have brains, especially Wei Cheng. From not having a brain to having a brain, the change is really big. Wei Cheng didn't dare to be greedy and said hurriedly, Although Your Honor didn't say it out, in actuality, you were trying to test subordinates' adaptability. Fortunately, subordinate answered correctly. Yi Hua was startled, and his expression was a bit flabbergasted. Soon after, Yi Hua revealed out a smile. To be able to see through my true intentions, Wei Cheng, you are truly becoming more and more creative. Subordinate doesn't dare to, it is all because of Your Honor's guidance. In actuality, subordinate doesn't have any requests, I just hope that Your Honor can give subordinate a raise in salary. After all, I have a girlfriend now, and my expenses are somewhat unable to keep up. Wei Cheng indeed didn't have any money right now. Sometimes, he would even use Xiaotang's money to refuel the Porsche. Yi Hua nodded his head. This is all a small matter, I will double your salary. Thank you, Your Honor. Wei Cheng hurriedly kowtowed and thanked Yi Hua. All right, who do you intend to call to deal with those 3 people? Yi Hua asked curiously. Green and Red Brothers, they need combat experience right now, I will use them for Green and Red Brothers to train. Yi Hua said faintly, that's fine too, in the future, give them more missions to increase their combat experience, and with that, they will be able to protect Ali in the future. Yes. You can leave now. After Wei Cheng left, Yi Hua rubbed onto his hair and muttered to himself, when did this Wei Cheng become so smart? I, the Supreme Overlord, am not used to it. However, in the end it was still a good thing. Yi Hua arrived at Qing Yutong's room and saw that his daughter and Yi Zizi were currently playing games, and Qing Yutong was nowhere to be seen. Daddy, Ali has already started fighting by herself, you can go back to sleep. Dong Huangli was very serious when fighting against Yi Zizi, because she was fighting against Yi Zizi. Big cousin, big sister Qing went to your office. She was called over by big sister-in-law. Yi Zizi added. Yi Hua's eyes shone. I hope that Qing Yutong's guidance will be useful. Let's go and listen to what they are talking about first. Forget it. Am I the kind of person who eavesdrops on others? If word of this got out, wouldn't people laugh their heads off? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.